Unmuted, we'll get this meeting going. All right. The time is now 7:04 p.m. and I will call this meeting to order. May we have roll call, please?
Mayor Reichel.
Here.
Pro Tem Knott.
Here.
Trustee Britnall.
Here.
Trustee Klassen.
Here.
Trustee Flores.
Here.
Trustee Hanrahan.
Here.
Trustee Seifert.
Here.
Okay, can we rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, be seated. First item on tonight's agenda is public comments. Persons desiring to make public comments on items not on the agenda, please activate the raised hand function in the meeting program. Or Sheila, any phone calls or emails in regards to non-agenda items?
We can't hear you. You're muted, Sheila.
I'm sorry, I thought I turned myself on. I turned myself off. No, I did not hear from anyone today.
Okay.
I do not show any raised hands, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
And no one signed in.
All right, no one signed in. Okay, we will move on. Next item is the consent agenda, which contains the minutes of the November 14th, 2022 Board of Trustees meeting and resolution number 27, Series 2022, a resolution approving the fourth renewal of a special use permit for the High Q retail marijuana store on property known as lots 17 through 19 portions, block 20, original town site, also known as parcel number 2179-102-15010, and commonly known as 730 Main Street, Town of Silt, Garfield County, State of Colorado. Anybody like to discuss any of those separately or make a motion?
No, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All right. Motion by Trustee Clausen to approve the consent agenda, seconded by Trustee Seifert. All is in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All is opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Do any board members have any conflicts of interest with agenda items tonight?
No, sir.
Not here.
I have none either. Any agenda changes by the staff or the board?
Nope.
Nothing?
None
Okay.
here.
Nothing here either. All right, then next up will be resolution number 25, Series 2020, a resolution of the Board of Trustees approving an agreement for professional services with Timothy L. Graves, PC, as the Silt Municipal Court Prosecutor of the Town of Silt, Colorado. Now we'll turn this over to Town Clerk McIntyre.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have not noticed, is Mr. Graves in the chambers with you?
He's here.
Yes, he is.
Fabulous. Hi, Tim.
Good evening.
So I'd like to introduce you to Tim Graves. He's been stepping in and helping us out as our interim town prosecutor when we lost Angela Roth here a couple of months ago. We did put this out, an RFP out for interested parties, and Tim was our only one who decided to submit to it, and we're happy with that because we're very pleased with the job he's done for the town. So he's here tonight to meet you and you meet him, and you can ask him some questions if you feel, and hopefully appoint him at the end of your conversation.
All right.
Great.
Okay. Evening, sir.
Evening, everyone. Hearing no questions, I'll just talk for a couple of minutes and maybe you guys will think of something. So, like Sheila said, my name's Tim Graves. I'm a partner with Lemoyne and Graves at Rifle. I've been filling in since, I believe, September for Angela Roth, the former prosecutor, now judge. And prior to that, I've been Angela's backup, not only for Silt, but also for the various municipalities that she's worked in for about a period of 2 years now. I've got a pretty long history of doing criminal law in my practice pretty much since the moment that I was sworn in. I've been prosecuting in municipal courts for about 4 years now. through that time, there's been quite a few changes in the law, quite a few changes in personalities that I work with throughout the different municipalities that I work in. But all said and done, it's always been a great pleasure to serve towns. One of the things that I really like about municipal court is that I have the opportunity to actually connect with the individuals that are brought into court. A lot of times in district and county court, you don't kind of get that personal connection. And I look at municipal courts as problem-solving courts. I want to know why you're here and what we can do to make sure that you're not back here again. One of the things that comes up quite a bit in Silt court is driving offenses, folks driving without a license, driving without proof of insurance, driving unregistered vehicles, things of that nature. And generally what we do on those first appearances is I talk to that person and I say, hey, look, what is it going to take to get that license, to get that insurance, et cetera. And in the event that they're able to do that in a timely manner, usually a month or two, if they're able to get those things in place, there's no other underlying charges, no accidents, things of that nature, then great, that's what we wanted. Move on with your life. We're not looking to put you in jail. We're not looking to put you in a position where you're going to lose your license after having just gotten it. So that's really kind of my prosecutorial philosophy is I want to help folks. That doesn't mean that there's not always going to be some form of punishment when it's necessary. And in those situations, really what I'm looking to do is to teach somebody a lesson. I'm not here to make sure that you're going to jail for the rest of your life. I want to make sure that next time you're in that stressful situation where you made that bad decision originally, that you think a little bit about it before you make that choice. Similarly, one of the main goals that I have is to put victims back into the position they had been had they not been the victim of a crime. So that could be things along the lines of, I was in a car accident, I had a $500 deductible to get my bumper fixed. I want to make sure you get that $500 back. If it's a more serious crime, crimes of violence, property damage, things of that nature, I want to make sure that you can feel safe in your community again. And that takes a whole lot of forms, and it boils down to a case-by-case basis. But that's the great thing about municipal court is that we're not overburdened with so many cases that we can't take that time to figure out what is it going to make you feel safe again, what is it going to take to make sure that you're not back in court on the same thing next month. My firm, like I mentioned, I'm in Rifle. I've been practicing in Rifle for 9 years. I have no plans on going anywhere anytime soon. So if you guys do end up choosing me, I'd be happy to serve for many years until we need to come to some other arrangement for whatever reason that may be. Ultimately, I currently serve here as the interim prosecutor, but I'm also the prosecutor in Fruta, Palisade, Debec, Rifle, and Newcastle, as well as being the deputy judge in Carbondale and Basalt. So I've got quite a wide net. The reason I mention that is oftentimes we come up with situations that we've not been in municipal court before, and it helps me to have the different connections through different communities to say, hey, how do you guys handle this? What's the best way to structure a proposed ordinance idea, things of that nature. So I'm happy to be involved in all facets, whether that's, working on new ordinance changes, working on prosecution, or in the event that things don't go right in court, handling whatever appeals may come up, whether that's myself bringing an appeal or a defendant bringing an appeal against the town.
Gotcha.
All right. So
Thanks
now-
for that.
Yeah, my pleasure. Any questions for me?
No.
I don't
How
have
often
any.
do you have to drive to each one of those different municipalities for?
They're all on different schedules.
Oh, okay.
The one that comes up most often is Fruta. They have a weekly docket, which really is just kind of a choice of the town. They want to have fewer people come at once and just have it more often. Silt does a monthly docket, and frankly, most towns of this size do a monthly docket. And that works well, frankly.
Yeah.
How do you measure your success?
We don't do a lot of trials, and so doing a trial percentage, I don't think is an accurate representation of how I am successful. In my mind, that success is measured on two things: recidivism, how many times are you coming back into court for the same issue over and over again, and what can I do to make sure that doesn't happen? And two, just the general outcome for the public. If I've got a case where I've got 4 or 5 victims of the same person in the same criminal incident, I want to make sure that all of those people feel the same way coming out of it. And they may not be thrilled about the outcome, but I want to make sure that they're at least satisfied with it. So that could mean a lot of different things for a lot of different cases. A lot of times that involves plea deals. So let's say I'm charged with a crime that's a higher level crime, but I may enter into a plea deal with someone to have a lower level crime, but as part of that, they are guaranteeing that they will pay victims back, things of that nature.
Would you describe yourself as being an advocate of restorative justice?
So restorative justice comes up a little less often than I'd like it to, frankly. A lot of times when those situations do arise, we're already in the court and the chance to have that meaningful discussion has already passed. It comes up more often with juveniles than it does with adults, and really that has to do with just the nature of crimes that juveniles get themselves into rather than adults get themselves into. When I do have the opportunity, I'm happy to go down that road. It doesn't work for every case, doesn't work for every individual, but ultimately I am happy to explore those options when they arise.
It's great to hear. Thank you.
My pleasure. Anyone else?
No, you hit on mine. I was going to talk about youth because we have a few youth that come through the Silt criminal justice system. So
Sure.
just wanted to see kind of, but what your thoughts on where that, but the restorative justice seems to be maybe the way you go for.
Well, we're really lucky in Garfield County with Youth Zone and partnering with them for our youth cases. And so what that means for youth, and I'll be honest, 90% of that's minor in possession of marijuana, minor in possession of alcohol. But what that means for them is before they ever come into court, they've already met with a youth zone advocate, and that person has talked to them about those restorative justice options, about what it means for them to be in the justice system and what it will take to keep them out of the justice system. And so we're very fortunate to have those resources. They're doing a lot of the hard work on the front end of things that make not only my life easier, but also the judge and the court clerk to have that information moving forward without having to pause, take that 10 minutes, whatever it may be, to talk to that person. With Youth Zone, generally, the deals that we work out are something along the lines of, take an education class, do some public service hours, and stay out of trouble. And if you can stay out of trouble for 3, 6, 9 months, a year, whatever it is, based on the severity of the crime, at the end of that period, so long as you've been in compliance, then that case oftentimes gets dismissed, and then you have the opportunity for expungement, meaning that it just is no longer on your criminal record. And that's a great opportunity for youth, but it is not an unlimited opportunity. If you consistently are coming back to court, let's say for minor in possession of marijuana, at some point the education's not getting through to you. At some point there has to be some other penalty that backs that up. And so that's when we start to get into the area of public service. I'm a big advocate of public service for youth because in my mind, when you're out, smoking pot or whatever it is that you're doing with your friends, you could be doing something else, and I'm going to make sure that you have something else to do. And so I'm a big fan of public service for youth. One of the other things that I oftentimes incorporate into my youth sentencing recommendations are talk to the parents. Hey, are there problems at home? Is there a curfew issue? Is your child attending school? And if they are attending but not passing their classes, why is that? And so a lot of times with youth, I'll have a stipulation in my sentencing recommendation that says no more unexcused absences the rest of the semester, rest of the year. That works sometimes, doesn't work all the time. With individuals that are going to school but just not, paying attention, actually being present in the room, that's when I'll ask for, no failed classes this year. If they can pull that off, stay out of trouble, in my mind, that's probably the best thing that we can do for them, is get them that education and move them on with their lives. This doesn't need to be the end of their opportunities. It really should be a launching pad for the future.
Yeah.
Adam?
Nothing else?
Nope.
I got nothing else.
Great.
All right, Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve resolution number 25, series 2022, approving the agreement for professional services with Timothy L. Graves, PC, as the Silt Municipal Court prosecutor for the town.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Mayor Pro Tem Nutt to approve resolution number 25, series 2022. That was seconded by trustee Clausen. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You gentlemen.
Appreciate it.
It'd be my pleasure to continue to serve.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the I-70 pedestrian and bike overpass progress report. I will turn this over to Director Fauner, and it looks like we've got
Thank you.
Matt here with us.
Yes, Matt Wessel is with Roxall. If you remember in 2019, the town received a multimodal option fund grant through CDOT to start the process of designing a bike pedestrian bridge over I-70, the railroad corridor, and possibly the frontage road. And Matt is Matt is here to give an update on that process and where we're at.
Okay. Good evening. Thanks for letting me give you an update and kind of where we are. It's fun to get to towards the end of a process and concept design and kind of show you what we've done and some a lot of exhibits that were in our draft report and then some new exhibits that we've got developed to we got the concept design together. So yeah, just an update here. So go ahead, next slide there. Like Trey said, I'm Matt Wessel with Roxall. I think there's two other folks potentially on the line, Steve Graybill and Martin Merklinger, potentially. Steve is with KLJ Consulting. He's our traffic engineer, transportation planner, and then Martin is with Roxall, our structures engineer as well. We'll just go over the kind of schedule where we are, give you a quick summary of public involvement, talk about alignment analysis, which we presented at the working session last December, actually, and then just kind of give you some update on the 7th Street alignment that we've selected as the recommended alignment and location for the overpass. And I'll kind of go into how that connects with the interchange a bit. So go ahead, next slide. And if you have any questions, feel free to just jump in, or I can take questions at the end as well. So we're at the 5th bullet here, concept design refinements. We had a draft report over late summer. Talked about it with Trey a bit, and we're kind of finalizing our final report at this point that will get completed here in the next couple of weeks. And then kind of moving on from there is continue to try to find funding through grants, and if funding is available, we can keep moving forward to preliminary and final design, get to good stopping points on a concept, and then eventually on to construction. So we've been working on this for about 19, 20 months here. At the end of the year, it'll be about 20 months through that. Go ahead, next slide there. We've had two specific public outreach opportunities. One was a virtual open house in 2021. Got about 10 visitors, not a lot, but they were generally supportive of the project as a whole. They were, most of the folks who commented did prefer the 7th Street alignment. Then we had an in-person open house this past summer in June. Had about 10 to 15 folks sign in. I did not attend that, but Trey, you were there. It sounded like it was good turnout, good discussion,
Yep.
Supportive of the project. We've also got a website that's has information on it as well. That website will be updated as we kind of get to the final design here, and people might look at it for grant funding potential and trying to find out more about the project. We'll have met with CDOT 4 times. We met with RAFTA a couple months ago. That was a good meeting. And then Trey has kind of led the property owner discussion, as we have had talked with a few of the property owners to let them know what's going on. So I feel like it's I wouldn't say it's robust, but it's a good public involvement process during our concept design, giving an opportunity. That's something that when you look at grant funding, the reviewers will definitely look at what kind of outreach you've done to try to get public involvement. So next slide there. So we looked at the 7th, 9th, and 10th Street locations that you see there in the colors there. The 9th Street is really a combined alignment with a potential interchange, kind of more at-grade crossings with the ramps. The 10th Street in blue and the 7th Street in red are kind of the overpass alternatives where it's grade separated over the ramps, the I-70 ramps. So some of the key factors that we determined that was good to, the 7th Street alternative really came to light was really the connectivity that we felt and the ease of use for the, it kind of puts you right down in kind of the downtown couple blocks there and up 7th Street with some sidewalk connections and access to parks and closer to the school. So we really felt like that was a good connection kind of north and from the north and to the north of Main Street for that 7th Street connection. So that's why I went ahead and kind of decided that was the right alignment to choose there. And so that's kind of where we left off last December on our presentation and during the working session. Next slide. So 7th Street, a little more specific as we kind of got to look at this. There's not a lot of options at 7th Street right there to find a spot to get a ramp down. You know, there's those graphics there show, you know, cutting off some of the existing street network. Obviously, those two alternatives there require property acquisition. And we also looked at not just the circular ramps that you see there, but we called them wall-type ramps, where it's basically come in, it's just a long ramp with a big wall. Really felt like that cut off a lot of views, and visually that wasn't as aesthetic as the circular ramp. The circular ramp kind of keeps the space down. And then along with this, there's also an improved connection across Main Street with some sort of flashing beacon like you have at the roundabout now. So we'd try to be consistent with what kind of crossings of Main Street would be there as well. So you know, that property acquisition is probably one of the most, I guess, more complex issues with the crossing there. And that's when you look at grant funding, that CDOT is going to be curious how the process for that as well on that. So this kind of really drops you right down here in the downtown couple blocks that we felt was important on that. Go ahead to the next slide. The south side, we have a few more options here. It really depended on the length. You know, you can see in the lower left, it kind of drops down there in the existing rideshare lot. That's kind of the shortest overpass length. And then the one in the upper right, kind of the intent there was to keep it inside the existing right-of-way and use as much space as we could there. That does require the parking lot to be reconstructed there. And then going all the way over the frontage road, and then acquiring property on the south side as well. That's the longest option there. And again, we went with the circular ramps, as that take up the least amount of space. Don't create some sort of long wall situation. There was discussion of, it just seems like quicker option to get up and over and use the ramp. We're really trying to make it inviting to use for the community. And it really came down to eliminating the at-grade crossing, which is why the one in the upper right is recommended. It doesn't require property acquisition, and it crosses the frontage road, just to eliminate that one extra at-grade crossing. Even though that's a low-speed, kind of low volume road there, we did think it was good from a study perspective to try to get that crossing eliminated as well. So there are some frontage road impacts with the recommended alternative. And so that you can see the parking lot layout there. There's a lot of different parking lot layouts that you can go with. We go to the next slide here, and we weren't really as concerned about the actual parking lot layout, kind of where can we find enough room to create the same amount of parking spots. That was a comment from CDOT, is if we do impact the parking lot there, the rideshare lot, then we need to make sure that we have the same number of spaces That was a comment that they wanted to make sure that we understood. And as you know, it's well used. That lot is well used, so even expansion of that could be something that would be could be beneficial for the surrounding community. The lot improvements align well with the connectivity and accessibility goals as well, for kind of blending the ramp and the lot together into a kind of a space for that. And so there are multiple options. So we kind of looked at all those different options, and then kind of the same discussion. You don't want to try to take right away. You want to try to keep them close together. And so we ended up kind of developing on the next slide here. This is the architecture. I'll get it. We got a concept design here later on. So part of the study was to kind of look at landscape architecture and what that might look like down the road, and once we get it constructed. So you can see on the kind of the upper left pictures there, those are sections. Those were two different options we had at our public outreach for just trying to get comments on things. The option on the left there with the 2 columns for the section was more publicly supported. The option on the right is a little bit less, call it a hammerhead pier. It still has options to make the column decorative. The public supported the one on the left, so we kind of tended to go towards that route. That section there, the actual overpass is it's a 10-foot wide path with 2 foot of buffer space on either side, and then there'll be rail on there too. So you've got a 14-foot wide path, which is desirable design criteria for bikes passing, potentially people walking and bikes passing. So that's kind of the criteria we went with at this point.
Is it the same width on the circular portions?
That'd be the same
up?
width, yeah.
Oh, okay,
We would take that whole width all the way around. So when we get in, at the 30% design level, that's where you would really kind of finalize how wide you want it to be, based on some structure analysis, and there's a little bit of flexibility there, but that's kind of desirable.
Sure.
So that's kind of what we're going with right now.
Got it.
And I think that's actually a good point, that this design criteria. With the circular ramps, we were designing for bikes as well. And so felt it was important that we didn't want to have right turns and switchbacks in the ramps. So if you wanted to, you could ride your bike all the way up. And we used a 5% grade, so it wasn't too steep. And so it's ADA compliant. And that's kind of the maximum for ADA compliance. So that was another reason why we kind of went with the circular ramps as well, to try to maintain that design criteria. Bertina Design Group is our landscape architect. So they kind of came up with these options here and this drafting. But you see how the colored image on the right there, there's kind of a center column in the middle of I-70, and then there's some intermediate columns in between the center column, and then the 2 end abutments could be the larger column as well, but without the town emblem on it there. One thing to note, we're not allowed to, FHWA does not prefer letters over the interstate to say Silt or something. So if we wanted to put Silt, it would have to be kind of on the outsides of it. So not over the center of I-70 there. So that's on the bottom here, there's a profile that you see there. And on the left is the rideshare lot, kind of the south side. And then as you go north, there's actually 2 more piers before you get to the circular ramp, because you got to go over the railroad. We just ran out of space there. Kind of give it some scale. We were trying to show the Silt emblem there in the middle. And then one of the comments or discussion items in the design was kind of balancing those columns to make sure you get spacing so they're visually aesthetic and it looks good approaching it. Let's go to the next slide here. So there's some graphics we've been developing the last couple weeks about recommended concept design. that we're kind of in the middle of reviewing. And so you can see the whole system there of the overpass design, the north side there, and then the south side. The north side really takes up both of those properties there, and then it has kind of like a little plaza area there to try to it has some plantings and could have some amenities, benches, and some wayfinding potentially, and things like that. So we thought the plaza was a kind of a nice design feature to have there. And then if you go to the next slide, it's a kind of blow up of the south side here. So we tried to, and we got to this concept design, we tried to maximize the space that we have here. And so we don't impact the Golden Gate stop there, and then over at the interchange there as well. So we tried to tighten up the frontage road limits, provide the potential future, that kind of loop on the left there is potential drop-off or bus transit potential. So we're trying to make it a little bit somewhat compatible with maybe future transit options there, and then kind of improving the parking lot there as well. There is a little bit of a grade issue that we've got to kind of work through. The frontage road is up a little bit from the surrounding property, so there's might be some walls and things there. But the cost, and then the cost of this, construction costs are continuing to increase. My guess is we're going to be in the $13 to $15 million range when we talk about this. That includes the parking lot rehabilitation or relocation and the frontage road. Had some good discussion with RAFTA on our call with them. They said their underpasses, those are underpasses, are running about 18 million along 82. So that's some context. We shouldn't be at that much since we're over and we don't have the excavation that there. And then next slide from there. How does this overpass work with the interchange? There's a concept study done for the interchange in 2016 with some different options for interchange ramps. So really the overpass, the pedestrian bike overpass is really compatible with really any of the interchange options. Where it does potentially have some, I guess, influence would be on the westbound on-ramp, depending on where we put that pier for spacing. We might have to do a little bit of realigning of that ramp if we want to. We're concerned about that. And then the pier, just by the existing parking lot, is pretty close there to the on-ramp as well. So we need to put guardrail. There'd be guardrail installation along I-70 as part of this project to protect the piers from highway traffic. But it's really, we showed it with the roundabouts. Really, it really works for any of the interchange ramp and intersection alternatives, whether that be signals. So you saw at 10 to this is kind of show a whole concept here. That doesn't have the latest design in it yet either, but we'd update the graphic for that. Next slide, please. So what are we up to next? It's really just going to complete our study here. In the next few weeks, we're going to get CDOT to kind of buy off on what we're doing and the concept design, so we can move forward. I think in some of these things are continuing things that the town's already been doing on this. It's move it forward, and just obtaining support, local regional support, so we can put all that information into grant submittals. Continue to look at funding and partnerships there, and submit grants, and then use monies that are available to get to a 30% design level, which is that's kind of the CDOT preliminary design level. They'll really be interested in that 30% design. That's kind of when their design process really kicks off, when you get to 30% design, and you can get environmental clearances, and they look at right-of-way and utilities, make sure you've got everything lined up for your project to go to advertisement, and so there's not many issues in construction. They're trying to minimize those. And then you get 90% in construction after that.
Nice.
So that's all I got tonight. Kind of give you a quick update there on what we're doing. Show you some graphics.
Thank you. It's a good update.
Yeah. So if you guys got any questions, be
Yeah,
happy
thank
to
you.
try to answer.
Why can't you put, like, so when you said that they don't prefer that you put letters or words, that doesn't mean you can't do it, right?
Well,
You mean to say you can't do it?
you should not expect to be able to do that.
Oh, okay. Why?
So,
Like,
it's-
they're not lit up or anything, right? Like, there's no
No,
backlighting or
no,
anything to it?
There's certain standards for signs along the
Okay.
interstate,
Yeah.
and so it's just.
You can put it
different.
on the bridge itself?
No,
right?
not over that. You'll see it on the abutments, like on stone, or retaining walls at the abutments, kind of off to the side.
Okay.
To the, so you see it there sometimes, but not like over the lanes.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
just thinking of Denver when you drive down.
Yeah, those are
25,
street names,
for
though,
sure,
so
yeah.
different.
Those are street names on overhead signs.
Yeah.
which you'll
No,
see.
not on overhead signs. They're actually built in.
In
So
the
when they did
bridge.
T-Rex, I-25,
Yeah.
it'll
Like the
say
s-
Downing
like-
Street.
Like
or-
you might be able, well, might be able to say like 9th Street or something like that.
Oh, okay.
On there.
I was just wondering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just rename it Silt Street and just put Silt up there.
Yeah. That's right.
There you
I've never heard that as an option, but I don't know.
go. Why not?
All right.
They don't all have to be numbers.
Yeah.
Just Silt.
That's true.
Well, it ties into 7th Street, which comes up to Town Hall, it makes sense for it to be Silt Street.
Oh, what was hey Trey, this is for you as far as like the conversations with the property owner over at that 7th Street property deal? Last time you talked to them.
Just a couple weeks ago, he was asking me how far this project was out, because he had some people interested in buying that.
Yeah, gotcha.
And the other one I talked to was the KOA. Well, not the KOA exactly, but they own that property in front,
Yeah.
and they would like to see it not land on their property, them options of taking property away from them to land this thing.
Right. And
So-
that reconstruction of that parking lot you have is all on that CDOT right away.
Yes.
Basically.
That's the intent, is to
Yeah.
keep it within the right of way.
Yeah.
There was a line on that graphic for a retaining wall.
Yeah.
A lot of times you'll either look at a wall or maybe a slope down into somebody's property. You don't take the property, but you basically fill on it, and then they can still use the property
Yeah.
for things. And so there's some.
And it looked like one of those options, you could land it north of the frontage road.
There is an option to put it kind of landed in the existing rideshare lot.
Right, and then just like
And
build a
then
different kind of
relocate
ramp
the
down.
rideshare lot kind of to the east.
Right.
To relocate that. I mean, that's a shorter option, less cost, there's a lot less cost there.
We don't have $15 million. We don't have $13 million. We don't have $10 million for this, so I don't even know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where we're looking at different grants to kind of move it along.
Sure.
In that.
Not
So-
to burst your bubble, but
Yeah.
I know.
I
you
like
know.
the whole concept design, but yeah. Then again, the money issue.
I actually like the landing it on 7th Street and making a pedestrian ball out of that.
Yes.
The
But,
Stockton,
yeah, it's gonna be in the
instead of acquiring the property.
that lot,
no,
right?
isn't that on?
Because your first
Front
picture
Street?
kind of
Yeah,
showed it in the
front
street,
seven.
but it would be on the lot, not in the street, right?
On the south side?
On the
Oh, so
north
that's without
side.
acquiring
On the north
that.
side.
Yeah, then you have to
The
acquire property.
recommended
That's
is to
just
put
like
it in the,
right there.
Yeah.
to
Basically,
acquire
yeah.
that property.
Okay, because that one
Get rid of all the fancy
conceptual
stone.
picture showed it in the street.
And that was to try to use the existing right-of-way without acquiring a piece of property.
Okay,
That was
gotcha.
the intent of that. But that would require some road closures and,
Yeah.
turnarounds, and there's some, when you get into closing access, you gotta provide turnarounds for fire sometimes, and look at that. What is the fire access?
So Trey, if they decided to sell that property and the new owners decided not to sell to us, then this whole thing would be mute, wouldn't it?
That was moving out of the street like he showed.
Not necessarily.
Condemn it?
Yeah, right.
Good luck.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
well,
good luck,
yeah, but I
but-
don't, we really need that lot to make it work.
Yes, we really need that lot to make it work.
Because otherwise,
We'll go up. Go the other way. Go up.
Have you had any conversations with Union Pacific?
So Union Pacific has, we've had some initial, I guess, feelers out to them. They don't really do anything until 30% design, and they have a whole requirement of what they want to see at 30% design. And then there's an agreement that the town will have to execute with Union
Yeah, if you
Pacific
can't acquire
to
that,
pay
then
them to
that's-
yeah,
review
they'd
your
take, but
plans.
they'd take away 7th Street.
So that's an agreement that they do, and then it's a $20,000 or $30,000 kind
Which
of
would work.
review, kind of escrow
And
account.
yeah.
To get that approved. The strategy with Union Pacific is to stay off of their property and just get the clearance requirement, because you have to be, I think it's 23 and a half feet from the top of rail to the bottom of your structure for rail clearance. So that's kind of what we're working with on that. We're not trying to take property or take an easement or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be difficult. So on the north side, you can see the one had that kind of a kink in it. There's a little bit of right of way there, kind of make our span shorter. That's actually the longest span. Yeah, you can go on the 7th Street north side option, kind of towards the front of the presentation.
Yeah, page 71.
Yeah, that one there.
Yeah.
So the one in the lower left, the right of way for the railroad is a little narrower right there on the property there, and so the intent was to just kind of narrow that span up. That was our thought there. Try to keep that span down. That's what that was.
All right.
So
If you did that one where it would be on the end of 7th Street, we'd lose that bulk filling station in, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
That's why we looked at moving it onto the property, because it would, all the bulk water stations
Right,
would be
but that one for
affected.
sure in front of the Water Conservancy would be gone, okay.
yeah. There's 2 properties there. I don't know if there's we haven't really looked at an option to take one property and move over and still have access to that filling station. That was a major concern why we didn't.
Yeah, well, and they were both owned by the same person at the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah. So I think what we're eventually be looking for when we get the alignment, the concept report finished is, it'd be nice to have, it'd be good to have some sort of resolution from the board to, agree to it and kind of,
Well, you supply 100% financing for somebody that wants to donate money, we'll sign her tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, it would need to be cheaper. So, for all intents and purposes, I suppose for you guys, like I think we would need to go back and look at some of those options that aren't so expensive, such as completely redoing the rideshare lot and building retaining walls. I mean, that's got to add quite a bit of money to the whole thing.
it does.
So the landing to the north of that and then bringing that ramp down would probably be a better idea. Really.
It'd be nice to clean up that rideshare lot because it's nasty.
Yeah.
Really.
Okay. Tell CDOT that. I mean,
Yeah. I
just
it's
did.
not our, yeah. But you know what I mean?
That
Like,
was-
to be real, right? You're here to give us information. We should give you feedback
Sure.
back. Like,
Yeah.
we don't mean to be somber, but we just had a discussion about a $30 million
Yeah.
water plant that we can't afford either. So, I don't know,
Understand.
after seeing this price tag, the water plant seems like a good deal now, but.
Maybe you could slide this in with the water plant.
Yeah, but to look at some of those options that would reduce the cost of this would be
Well-
really important. If we had any idea of even trying to get this done at this point.
There
So,
really isn't much difference. Well,
It does depend on the grants.
Yeah.
We're expecting to have to get grant funding for this. There's a lot of grants in the available funding, federal funding
yeah.
now for this type of structure, this type of connection in local communities. So that's kind of what we're angling for.
yeah.
And the rideshare lot, Raft had some good discussion about lighting and just making the space inviting and to improve its use and make people feel safe. And
Yeah.
so that was good discussion, and it kind of, I don't know, maybe sparked a little bit of potential improvement with CDOT and RAFTA, or maybe that funding partnership with CDOT might be able to be explored a little bit more.
Sure.
What kind of money do they have to potentially improve something like that as well?
Okay. No, it's good.
Yeah.
And like I said, just take what I said just for what you want. I'm just 1 out of 7, you know what I mean? So
Sure.
that could be different than what these guys are thinking. But,
Yeah,
So-
right.
Did RAFTA hint at possibly throwing some money into the project?
We talked around about it a little bit.
But not without us being a member
We're not
of
a
RAF.
member.
Say with us not
Yeah,
being a member,
I
doubt
just,
that they
yeah,
would,
that's what I just wanted.
Yeah.
Be willing to jump in too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did mention
Is it all-
they're supportive of this type of infrastructure improvement, and they'd be willing to support it, with a letter.
Write
or
us
something.
letters or something to help us
Yeah.
towards grants.
Oh, okay.
Because the next big grant transportation alternative projects, or the TAP grant, will come back out in January, and that's a CDOT funded grant. And being at the stage we are now with design and stuff, the CDOT people I've talked to, there's a fairly good opportunity there that might be able to get enough grant money to at least fund the full design of this thing.
Oh, okay.
And then at that point, like Matt said, there is the the legislation and the government that's in right now in Colorado are heavy on these multimodal options and stuff. So there is quite a bit of grant money out there
That's good.
that could help
Yeah.
get this done.
Can you, and for either one of you guys or even Jeff, kind of just give us a quick idea of where we're at regarding, the amount of money that we did receive as far as a grant for this project and this design, kind of where we're at with what money's been spent, what's left, up until that. So
I can, yeah. The contract we have, which is for the MMOF grant, was for about $400,000. We've spent about $300,000 right now. We're just about done. So
Okay.
we have a little bit more money, and we're kind of been talking a little bit with Trey about how can we best use that to kind of move the project forward.
Okay.
Usually that's related to survey or geotechnical investigation. So I'm starting to look at some of the environmental resource clearances. And things like that. So we've got until April. I think we've got to spend the rest of or use the money towards the concept design process, which also includes some interchange work here. The other thing we did do, I didn't put it on here. I think it's on the interchange ramp at traffic study. So the last interchange study was done in 2016. Those traffic counts are about 6 years old. So as part of this process, we actually used some of the additional money that we didn't spend to get traffic counts and do a little traffic analysis on the intersection alternatives, see how they're functioning today versus what that was in 2016.
Yeah.
And then we'll also use that to get some pedestrian and bike counts there. So that's we collected that in mid-October. So we're kind of looking at that data right now. So it'll be a kind of a standalone traffic analysis, which is always one of the first things CDOT wants to see when you do an interchange, start looking at interchanges and what kind of intersections will work there and whatnot. So.
And then, does the town get full access to those reports and studies?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
absolutely.
We own them?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
No
I don't have any
questions?
questions.
I like it. I mean, it would be a nice project to complete, but it's funding and funding.
Mm-hmm. Funding.
So, is there a big cost difference between the decorative columns and the hammerhead pier?
13 or 15 million. Like it's not going to be a big cost difference. Landscaping and aesthetics is typically maybe 3 to 5% of a project cost. Heavy would be 5%, 6% maybe. So it's not a big component of it overall.
Right.
So I think that was comment earlier when we met in last December too, is, its cost is an issue, and try not to go too extravagant with the aesthetics and the landscape architecture and things.
That's correct.
So.
Okay.
We still stand by that.
I for sure.
I support the mayor in that.
I'm not
That's
a
him.
fan of you pour concrete and then put rock on it to make it look pretty when it does nothing but make it look pretty.
Yeah.
I'd rather have a path where people can go safely back and forth and have $1 million in stone.
Yeah, our cost estimates that we have, we've broken it down like per different areas, so we kind of can take things out as we want to kind of get some cost analysis here as needed. I think looking at long term and trying to figure out what grants we can get if we do get approved for a grant, and that what we're going for is kind of like that's really what would be great, and then if we can't secure that much, maybe we can bring it back into the rideshare lot.
Yeah.
And then if we can't ever get, for whatever reason we can't get that, we can still look at the 9th Street when you do the interchange, years down the road. And it's still a crossing. It's not the most ideal crossing, but it'd still be a better crossing than what's out there now.
Yeah, you bet.
So I think there's some kind of menu options to continue to move forward with if we don't get what would like to see.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
All right, yep.
Perfect, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Good info, man.
Thank
Thanks
you,
so much.
yes.
Yeah.
Thanks, Matt. Have a good night. Appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
Enjoy your
Enjoy
drive
the
back to
rest of the
Junction.
You don't have to leave, you're welcome to stay.
Well, I don't think you were doing the budget, so maybe. No, appreciate it. Thanks.
Smart.
See you, Matt.
All right, next up is a request to continue the public hearing for a place of worship at 701 Main Street in the B1 Zone District to the December 12th, 2022 Board of Trustees meeting. I'll just see if Planner Chain has anything to add to that before we make any motions.
Not really. It's pretty straightforward. Some legal issues came up at the last minute, and we needed to huddle with the town attorney and postpone the hearing both in front of the Planning Commission and the board. And we want to accommodate the church public hearing as soon as possible. And the next possible date is December the 12th. So the recommendation is for the board to make a motion to continue the public hearing or reschedule the public hearing for the special use permit for a place of worship at 701 Main Street until December 12th.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion
Oh, public
to,
meeting, isn't, you have to,
well, that's next time.
Yeah, we're going to continue the
Yeah.
public hearing,
Oh,
so
okay.
we'll have that next.
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to move the public hearing for the special use permit for a place of worship at 701 Main Street to be continued until the December 12th board meeting at 7 PM.
Second.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Not to move the public hearing for the special use permit for a place of worship at 701 Main Street to be continued until December 12th, board meeting at 7 PM. That motion was seconded by Trustee Britnall. All's in favor?
Aye.
All's opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up is an update on land use entitlements and approvals, and I will turn this over to Planner Chain.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Mayor. And we don't need to go into depth on most of these things. It is self-explanatory. You've had a long night and you've had a lot of dollar signs, a lot of zeros, and a lot of commas to talk about. Oh, the planning stuff here is relatively straightforward. The most important thing to be aware of is at the next meeting, there will be a hearing, first for a rezoning and then for the final plat for a minor subdivision for Autumn Ridge. And that's a parcel that's a little over 3 acres in size, and it's directly to the east of the old Silt Cafe. And that was actually approved for a multifamily residential development before the Great Recession. And then it went into hiding for a while. And that is going to be a controversial project. And by that, I mean, you're going to have a lot of people from the public. And they'll be opposed to the rezoning from R1 to R3. The Planning Commission did go and recommend for you to approve the subdivision, but at this time they did not recommend for you to move forward with the rezoning itself. And we'll deal with that next meeting, and that'll be a long agenda item. The rest of these things are self-explanatory. I don't know if you want me to go into them or not. Heron's Nest. They still have not applied for an annexation. They intend to do that, probably by the end of the calendar year, the first part of January. The water supply issues have put a little wrinkle into that request, and they're looking at options. And I've talked to Davis Farrer about a couple of these items, and they still may want to appear in front of you in January to discuss a number of items, including utilities and alternatives of what to do in case there are some real cost issues. The Family Dollar was approved for a site plan by the Planning Commission. There were some issues because staff recommended that they match the downtown street improvements that were put in on the north side of Main Street by the town, and there was some pushback on that. But at the end of the day, the town put them in touch with vendors who could actually supply the infrastructure at less of a cost than what Family Dollar professionals could do. Another thing I do want to let you know is that the Rislenda, that is moving forward, and we've had a pre-application meeting for the preliminary subdivision plat. And that's good because I think that is a project that could really help out the town here in the future. Next, Camarillo Phase 2 and Stony Ridge Phase 2. They still have not moved forward, either of them, for different reasons, putting in the infrastructure. I'm a bit disappointed in that, but it just is what it is at this time. The River Run self-storage finally did get approval for their self-storage area. They've improved the landscaping, and all the other issues been cleared up. And as part of that, we also made contact and had some discussion with the person who owns, or the person in charge of the entity that owns the Camp Colorado KOA, and they're going to participate in trying to help get a path completed more towards the western end of town. Right now it stops at Golden Gate on the south side of I-70. And then the other thing, just beware of, the town will be seeing as a site plan review in January or February. It's not a huge storage project, but a significant storage project, 70,000 square feet, and that's to the west of Highway Feed and Seed. So that's a quick summary. I'll be happy to answer questions, but I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
The only question I have regarding the Family Dollar, so was the pushback on it, like kind of creating that sidewalk and installing those same lights that are on the other side and like the tree in the sidewalk, or is that?
Yes, they did not want to. They said it wasn't required any place in the code, and they just didn't want to do it. It wasn't in their budget.
Oh, okay. And then was there any issue with that street light right there in the wasn't there a street light over there kind of on the corner in the dirt?
Yes, the tall one, yeah.
Yes. If you look at that tall street light, the sidewalk ends right at the street light itself.
Yeah.
And I asked them to move that. They didn't want to do that either, but it is possible to go and reroute it around. Most places I've seen, you put the light in a different location. But that what was picked when the town was, and the construction for the roundabout was going forward. But we've worked out those issues, and
cool.
I'm glad to see that's going forward.
Good deal.
And then the Autumn Ridge project would be where the taco truck, Fernie's taco truck currently sits?
No. The old Silt Cafe, okay.
Okay. So
it's where
JC's
Red River Inn.
Red River Inn. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Red
Silt
River
Cafe.
Inn, and then to the east of that is the old Silt Cafe.
Well, when you say Old Silt Cafe, people who have been here for a long time think Old Silt Cafe is beyond the corner right there by the roundabout.
The actual Old
across
Silt
from the
Cafe.
liquor store.
No.
The old gas station way back in the day.
The older Silt Cafe.
The older Silt
Old
Cafe,
Gulfport.
yeah.
no kidding.
The older Silt Cafe to the east, it looks like it's part of the Red River
Yeah.
Lodge, and it's at the far east end of that parcel.
It's all Dave Moore's project.
So it's that vacant land. There's a single family house on it. It's 3 acres in size.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And there's a hillside coming down close to the Silt Cafe.
Okay. I know which parcel that is now. Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking there's no way that parcel next to the
No.
It's 3 acres. So. Okay.
This is a pretty significant parcel because there is a driveway access off of Highway 6 and 24, and it goes to the north a little bit, and there's a pretty significant shelf up there. Basically, if you went to Valley Drive and Cactus Drive, if you were coming in from that area towards Highway 6 and 24, you're in the ditch, and it's that vacant parcel between that ditch and 6 and 24.
Okay. I know which parcel it is. Yeah. All right. Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you for the update.
Yeah, I like those updates.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll see you in 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next up is the second reading of ordinance number 15, series 2022. an ordinance of the Town of Silt, Colorado, amending Chapter 13.06 of the Town Code pertaining to the unlawful discharge of certain regulated materials in the town and to require the installation and inspection of backflow preventer devices. I will turn this over to Administrator Lehman.
Well, as the mayor said, this is second reading, and our Public Works Director, Trey Fauner, stands ready to answer any questions, should you have any.
I have none.
I have none either.
It's pretty well straightforward from the last time.
Went through it.
Yep.
Gotta have it.
If there is nothing, this is a public hearing, so. The time is 8:03 PM, and I'll open up the public hearing for ordinance number 15, series 2022. Persons desiring to make a public comment on this agenda item, please activate the raised hand function in the meeting program. Or Sheila, any phone calls or emails in regards to this agenda item?
No, I did not hear from anyone.
Okay.
I do not show any raised hands.
All right. And we have nobody from the public here in the chambers with us. So the time is 8:04 PM, and I'll open up to further discussion by the board or a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance number 15, series 22 as presented.
Second.
All right. Motion by trustee Britnall to approve ordinance number 15, series 2022 as presented, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Knott. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And up next is the draft 2023 budget presentation, revenue and expense projections, fund balances, and priorities. Turn us over to Administrator Lehman.
And Trey, again, stands ready. No, I'm kidding. All right, well, this is, we're getting down to crunch time. We're getting down to the last, we anticipate passing this budget on December 12th, which is our very next meeting. So this is really the last time we'll get to talk in detail about the budget, and really the first time that we've done it in a regular session so that it's on public TV, and we can do this in a real public session. So I'm going to, we've all been talking about this for a while, but there are some folks that maybe are tuning in for the first time, and so we want to make sure we go through it with some, not microscopic detail, but some level of detail tonight. So first of all, I'll just we'll go through the slides here, and I'll just kind of talk extemporaneously through here. And you're going to hear from our department directors when we get to their particular departments, and they'll talk a little bit about what each of their departments does as we move forward. But, we go through this budget process every year, and our budget is meant to be a reflection of our revenue. We're going to talk about that tonight. It's a blueprint for providing the services that the town provides. It's a reflection of our priorities, both those that we get from the community and those that you all interject into the process. It's a path forward to accomplishing those goals. It's a tool for accountability. Both the boards, the citizens can hold you accountable for this budget, and you can hold the staff accountable for making sure that we do what you ask us to do, and a financial plan going forward. So for tonight, we're going to talk very briefly about strategic planning. We're going to talk a little bit about the revenues that we anticipate for 23. We'll kind of tag team that with Amy. We'll do the departmental review. You'll hear from the board member or from the department directors. We'll talk about our expenditures, what we anticipate spending, and our fund balances at the end of 23, and then at some point our spending priorities. So getting into the strategic vision, you'll all recall we had a long couple conversations with Dana earlier in the year and put together some strategic goals, and one of the things that I've been kind of working on in my spare time is putting together a sort of a final strategic document. And if you go to the next page, you'll see the four, well, maybe you'll see, it's kind of small, and the four general topics: growth priorities, quality of life priorities, internal operations priorities, and economic development. I'm not going to go through those. That's our 5-year draft strategic goals. And I think early in the new year, we should pick those back up and really kind of get into those and make sure that those 5-year plans are still important, and really lay those out in a kind of that book format that I'm working on. We, over time, over the budgeting process, we've plucked some of the things out of that 5-year plan and made those our intermediate goals, the things that we want to accomplish or continue to work on through 2023. And these things all have money associated with them and getting more done in the 23 budget. That includes review and revise the comp plan and whatever associated municipal codes might be associated with them. Obviously, water and wastewater planning. The increasing mobility through town by repairing and replacing sidewalks and rec paths, to develop the code enforcement program, to continue work on the interchange and pedestrian bridge planning process, to support broadband development, to examine housing, although I must say there isn't any money in the budget for that, to do anything with that at this point, to promote economic development. We have a Shop Local campaign that we think is important that you all see. Small business development is part of that, as well as marketing the Opportunity Zone. We want to address perceptions about town government, again with community help. We want to try to finish up the OHV initiative, which involves some signage north of town and then working with CDOT to go south of town. Irrigation and water use incentives. We talked about the irrigation improvement plan and then the turf replacement promotion. And then our events, the concert series, farmers market, and kids events and recreation. And to continue to improve our communication with our constituents and to try to increase our two-way communication. So it's not just us talking to them, it's them talking more to us. So with that, I'll jump in. Any questions or anything on that so far? So then let's jump into revenue. This is revenue of all of our funds, including our governmental funds and our enterprise funds along the left column of that table. And you'll see the revenue, anticipated revenue in 2023 as compared to revenue from other years. There's a wide fluctuation, mainly because of grant revenue. And one thing we've done a better job of in our budgeting, in our budget book, is to separate those grant funds out, so you see them at the bottom of the page, and that way they are segregated somewhat from regular operating expenditure revenues and expenditures, and we can get into that a little later also. The next slide is our major sources of general fund revenue. You can see everything from what the board determined would be the number for the 2023 budget at 1.3 million. That compares with about 1.368 million is what I kind of calculated today for 2022. But I think given, not sure what's going to happen in the world with recession and so forth, I think you made the decision to be a little more conservative on that in 2023. Property tax at 366, that's generally pretty well fixed for one more year. Use tax at 400,000. Amy, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're probably going to be over 500,000 in 2023.
Yes, we are currently at 465, so I do believe we will be over that 500,000 mark.
We're never quite sure what we're going to get out of the highway users tax, but that's gas tax that comes back to us. Doesn't come back to us. It comes to us from the state. It's based on lane miles and some other factors, I suspect. 112,000 for next year. Building permits, we're at we budgeted 100,000, although we're probably going to be over that this year, maybe 125 or more. The one we really don't know much about is the mineral lease severance money. We're budgeting 140, and we may be over 250 this year, so it's just always hard to know where that's going to go. You have any comments on that one, Amy?
I don't. Right now, we're at 273 for that, but previous years, we've gotten 90,000, so it's really hard to tell, and they don't give us any kind of indication.
It is a reflection of I think the severance that's going on in the county right now in the area. So, maybe it continues, maybe it doesn't. The county sales tax share is we've budgeted at 120, and we're looking at probably close to 150 this year. Would you guess, Amy?
I'd say so. Yes, that's pretty accurate.
And then administrative fees that we charge each of our enterprise funds. Okay, next, any questions, observations on any of those? By the way, that's not all of our sources of revenue. Those are just the big ones. Probably all the ones that are in the six-figure range. Everything else I kind of left off the list. And they're in your packet, though. And we're happy to talk about any of those if you want to bring those up. So the next slide there is the fund balance discussion over time. And you'll see, Amy, do you have anything you wanted to point out specifically on this slide?
I do not. Nothing that's jumping out at me that they need to be aware of.
I wonder, just for some of the folks that weren't on the board, in the past, if you go from, from 18, we're at 1.7 just in the general fund, and then you go 19 to 20, it's like an $800,000 jump, and then 20 to 21 is over $1 million. You know what I mean? So maybe we can just discuss really quick why we see that such huge jump in those years in that general fund. When for all the years prior to that, it was much, much lower, and we didn't see those kind of increases. So we
didn't spend any money in 2020 because of COVID,
Mm-hmm.
but we received a lot more money in revenue than we were anticipating.
Yeah, so when COVID hit, you know, we had a bunch of projects that were basically budgeted for, but we really were unsure of kind of what was going to happen, and basically stopped a ton of them, right? So,
Yeah. And then the sales tax increase because people were at home. They weren't able to go shopping anywhere. They had everything delivered here. We saw an exponential increase
Yeah.
in sales tax revenue with a stop on expenditures. Plus, we also got a significant CARES Act funding where we were able to spend quite a bit of money to upgrade things for public health and safety that we didn't really have to take out of our fund balance to do so.
yeah. Cool.
And then just on top of that, so 2019 and prior to that was we weren't spending down balances at that, or funds. At that point, we were trying to build up our
Yep.
our reserves, so we were spending less than what our revenues were. Where this year, we're very financially healthy as a town. We're going to go ahead and spend some of those
Get the projects done.
those revenues down and give the money, in a sense, back to the citizens.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think, that, you know, that's a good point, and the illustration for that is found at the end of the packet in the financial report. You'll see that sales tax collected chart that, you know, we have really enjoyed looking at over the last few years because it seems to continue to go up, and,
Yeah.
you know, we keep adding lines for Jerry, so it's
right.
done really well.
Yeah.
So all of that together leads that fund balance to continue to go up.
Yeah.
And of course, this year, we're gonna spend it down a little bit, so that's, and especially in the general, well, and in all of those. And also the, you know, the other, I think, philosophy that we've had is that for '23, we're looking at, you know, the spending that we're doing on parks and sidewalks and, you know, those kinds of infrastructure things, we're doing out of those special funds, like beautification, park impact fee and fund, and construction impact fee fund, and leaving taking a little less out of the general fund so that we have some money there to give to the water project, should we need to do that. So kind of that's where we're thinking about 2023. And we do have a projection on 2023, and I'm sorry I didn't get that on this chart, but I couldn't see it earlier, so I'll have to blow it up and put it in there for you for next time. Okay, well, let's jump into the different departments, and Sheila, you want to give a quick description of what it is the town clerk's office does and all that. We're not really going to talk too much about, I didn't include the what each of these functions costs, because I think at this point, it's more important to hear, for citizens to hear what each of these departments does. We do have in the packet all of the costs for each of these offices and departments if we want to get into that.
You ready?
Ready.
Okay, for those who don't know what work comes out of the town clerk's office, hopefully this will be a little helpful. In regards to the Board of Trustees, my duties include preparing your agendas and getting your packets ready to send out and coordinating with all the department heads and contractors or developers who may have information to include. I attend all of your meetings, all of your work sessions, and then I follow up with whatever instructions are approved, you know, like tonight, what you've approved. I will follow through on the resolutions, what needs to be done, what needs to be recorded. I will transcribe all of the minutes. My favorite job, just in case no one knew. And then in regards to the general administration, I guess the key responsibilities there for a town clerk is records management. I keep track of all of the town's records from 1915 until today. So I decide what, based off of Colorado retention schedule, I will see what can be purged, what we do keep, what we don't keep. I work with the department heads so they know what they can get rid of on a timely basis too, according to the state. I handle all aspects of an election, as you've well seen. That will change a little bit in the upcoming years now since our ballot question was approved, but I will still be instrumental in the entire process. I just won't be doing the bulk of the work at the very end, counting the ballots and such. I'm in charge of the liquor licensing and the marijuana licensing from the beginning of a new application to the renewals to if we were to have any issues and we would have to move forward with the show cause hearing. I'm in charge of your Silt Cemetery, the Skyline Cemetery. I work with Public Works closely on locating graves, locating placements for headstones, working with families and funeral homes to coordinate burials. I send out messages on our new communication platform of TextMyGov, along with Trey and Nicole and a handful of other people. I process records requests, and that's just kind of a few things that happen. There's so many different things that we all work with here. In regards to human resources, I assist with just various functions. I helped with the most recent revision of our employee handbook by proofing through it and helping to add information, take information out, suggestions to help make it more current and useful for our organization. I also serve on the HR subcommittee as well. Municipal court, I run the municipal court. I'm in charge of inputting tickets and payments and being in touch with the judge, the prosecutor, the defendants, making sure it all comes together in the long run. When court is done, then I follow through on all the tickets to make sure everybody is complying with what the judge has ordered and paying and doing their UPS or taking their classes, whatever the judge has given them to do. And my deputy town clerk and also deputy town treasurer, Lori Malsbury, I'm working with her now to start introducing her to what I do and train her so that way someday if I ever get hit by that bus like we often joke, or I want to take a day off or something, then she will be able to step in and know what I do for the most part and be able to step in without too much of a problem. So that's kind of my work in a nutshell, but I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Is anybody dizzy?
Yeah, that was a very good explanation.
I think we need to, you did forget one thing, Sheila, and that is that you are the history book for the town. You offer the historical perspective of almost everything, so.
Well, that comes from years of being here, and you kind of absorb like a sponge a lot of things that have happened over many years, and hopefully it comes in handy quite often.
It does indeed. We are going to have to replace your slide, though, with 8 others, so we'll work on that for next year.
Hey, but it's doable. I've proven that.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. Thank you, Sheila.
Thank you, Sheila.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So town treasurer, Amy?
Hello. So I'll just going off of the slide that Jeff has, I'll start with audit.
Yeah, I might have missed some stuff, though, so don't feel constrained.
Well, I have 3 minutes, and so I'm keeping it to that. So, the audit, I compile all the information that the auditors need. So they need copies of all the ordinances, all the resolutions, the minutes, the utility bills, the vendor lists, the AP checks that we've written that are over $10,000, the journal entries that we've done, the detail ledgers. There's probably, 1,200 pages of information that I have to give them. That way they have all that before they get here, which means they only have to be here for about a day and a half instead of having to be here for about a week. Budget, we go through, we start in August. Jeff wants to start earlier. We start in August, meeting with the department heads, giving them their budget worksheet and asking for them to have their fantasy budgets, and then we try to dwindle that down or increase it if the board's wishes are for us to spend more of the fund balance. I do payroll every other week, accounts payable every other week on the opposite weeks of payroll. Accounts receivable is once a month. Human resources, I do the new hire packets and the benefit coordinator, and then the workers' comp coordinator. As far as HR, if there's issues with employees getting along or insubordination, that is done with an outside contractor that we have in place. And then I have our utility billing clerk, Mary Cleater, that does all the readings, puts it into the machine so that the water plant can do the readings. She does the estimations for any bills that the reader didn't work on. She does the late notices, the door hangers, shut-offs, shut-ons, all that billing side. And I'll answer any questions you may have.
No questions. Thanks, Amy.
There either, yeah.
Perfect. Okay, Nicole, you're on. You want to talk about community development?
I
and
will. Let me hand this to Derek.
Recreation and events.
Would be so kind to pass them down. Alrighty. So we have in community development, town staff and contracted services. So there's myself and then our community development admin assistant, Dusty Tornes. And then we have a contract planner, Mark Chain, that you guys all know. We have 2 different entities that we're using for contract inspector / plan reviewer. And that is Shums Coda and Bruce Stolbach. And then we have a contracted inspector, which is Aaron Coons. So we have a really great group of people working in community development right now to keep our department going. In community development, we have planning and zoning. Within planning and zoning, there are land use application reviews and processing, and those include, but are not limited to, special use permits, variances, annexations, site plan reviews, subdivisions, development agreements, property zoning, PUD development, subdivision improvement plans. And we also have building permit zoning reviews, municipal code compliance, planning and zoning commission liaison, coordinating planning and zoning commission monthly meetings, which, as Sheila does for the board, our department does for P&Z, including agendas, minutes, packets, and actually running the meeting. We attend board of trustee meetings. We're responsible for the zoning compliance for business license applications. And in planning and zoning, there's always significant inquiry, research, and public records requests. And then we also have building and inspections, which entails new application intake, processing and issuing permits. The permits that we currently issue are miscellaneous, demolition, excavation, single-family dwellings, and commercial. We also have plan reviews of new applications, scheduling and completing inspections, administering best tests, processing and issuing contractors' licenses. We issue stop work orders as needed. There is data entry, organizing files, and scanning before archiving as part of the building side of the department. The building side of the department also has monthly, biannually, and annual updates with Garfield County, the Census Bureau, and the state. There are also address changes that take place on the building side. Another portion of community development is administration and communication, which includes economic development, customer service, which comes in the form of emails, calls, website inquiries, and walk-ins. We process and issue business license and vendor licenses. We have website development and maintenance, social media. We have Facebook and have a recently opened Instagram account. We have the LED messaging sign. As Sheila had said, Text My Gov is a group effort, so we have multiple people that send stuff out on that messaging system. Administration also attends P&Z and Board of Trustee meetings. The town newsletter is part of communications, and Jeff currently does that for the town. And then we have managed the office for efficiencies and organization. And then we have special events. And special events, this is the list from this last year. I do not quite have the list done for 2023 yet, but will within the next week. This last year for 22, we had the Silt on sale, the Arbor Day tree planting, the Silt cleanup. We did a spring and fall this year. We had the Easter egg hunt, farmer's market, movie in the park, party at the pavilion. Camp Badge was on the schedule and ended up not happening this year, with possible intention to have it next year. Possibility. And then we did have the bike rodeo. We just recently had the Main Street Trick or Treat and Family Fall Fest. We did have the intention of doing a chili cook-off, but we're low on registration, so we ended up having to cancel that portion of that. And then last week we had our White Christmas tree lighting ceremony, and starting this week we will have Polar Express. And then as far as recreation, we have micro soccer, which has a spring and fall season. We have basketball. The boys' winter basketball is for 3rd and 4th grade, 5th and 6th grade. And the girls' fall season is the same age bracket. New this year, that I put new in 2022 because we are taking registrations right now, but it's actually going to launch and happen in 2023, in January of 2023. We'll have the little dribblers, which will be kinder through 2nd grade, and that's been a huge request, and we've actually had great feedback on that and several registrations up to this point. Baseball, we had T-ball this year, and we'll be incorporating coach pitch this upcoming summer. And part of recreation is our department also does rentals for parks and sports fields, as well as town facilities with the chamber and town center. And I will answer any questions that you guys have.
I have two.
Okay.
Under the town staff and contracted services, so 4 of those are contract positions. Are we looking to hire any additional full-time employees in that department to get rid of the contracted folks?
Not at this point.
So the contractors are working fine as far as,
Well, I was going to say that, Nicole sort of breezed over on the administration communication page. She sort of breezed over that last bullet point, manage the office for efficiencies in organization. That's been a huge task since she took over in there, just trying to, get everything to work the way it's supposed to. And I think she's done a great job, and I think things are working pretty well. When you have independent contractors, sometimes they have their own way of doing things, and they don't always incorporate into the, they don't always, what's the word I'm looking for?
Integrate.
Integrate, thank you. The way that you would like them to, and I think that's been a source of, no gray hairs, a source of some frustration for Nicole, but I think she's done a great job of putting that together. We did advertise and go through a process to try to find a building inspector to put on staff, and we were unable. In fact, we were spectacularly unable to find candidates. It just didn't work out for us. So, I think she's done a great job of moving these contractors to where we need them to be, and I think things are going pretty well. And I hope she'd agree.
It is all moving in the right direction.
Not without some stress and anxiety, for sure.
Yeah. So I don't ever want these questions to come off as anything personal, because I think sometimes they do. But like, is there an opportunity? I know that she does a great job organizing the office. I'm just thinking of it from an outside perspective. If you are a builder or a resident, and these guys are all on a contract basis, and they come in with a question, I brought that up, a question or something, and you might be busy or you're off, and then they're stuck waiting however long for a response, versus if we were able to hire that additional person to be in the office every day, maybe we have a better customer experience, if you will, with the folks that need that information. So do we have some opportunity with that?
We typically are able to answer questions within 24 hours. There was a transition period that I'm assuming is probably during the time frame that you heard feedback from. That
I think it was the two of us at least. I don't know if anybody else did. But, yeah.
Yeah, we did have a little bit of a rough bump there where we were still trying to figure out who's doing what.
Oh, okay.
Do we have a contracted service? We're at a stable place now that we have an inspector here every single Tuesday and Thursday.
Gotcha, okay.
And that we have the consistency now. It just took a couple months to get there. It took a little bit of time to figure out where we could set people in place and make it consistent.
Cool. That's good. I mean, we trust you, of course, so just wanted to ask that. The other question that I have just around the recreation and everything, which I think is going awesome, so thank you so much for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have maybe an opportunity, can we offer online registration? I get a lot of feedback that the registration in Silt's really difficult compared to Rifle and Newcastle. Some of that feedback comes from my wife. So can we offer online what do we need to do? How can we help you get that to be easier for parents to register their kids for these events or these,
It's a cost factor. So I had looked into Team Sideline, which is what Newcastle uses.
Yeah.
And you have to have a minimum of 500 registrations a year.
Right.
And we just weren't quite there. We're getting closer, but the amount that we would have to pay for less than 500 registrations a year is double what it would be if we were over that.
How much?
I want to say the last time it's per registration.
Okay.
And they charge us, I think it's a 4.5% of each registration.
Okay.
And so it's a percentage, so I'd have to sit down and actually break down the math.
Right.
Because each one of our registrations costs something different.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so it's a
Depending on
percentage of the
program. Okay.
cost of the registration.
I don't know so how close to the 500 are we? Or where were we this year? Any idea?
I would have to get those numbers.
I mean, really, we should discuss just paying for it. I mean, I do think that we're losing registrations because it's difficult. And then people just, everybody knows different, right? They call and, come play over here. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
It may just be worth doing it and having it and making it available. And it might just make your job easier too.
It would definitely make my job easier.
Yeah.
Because it would all be put into a data
I'm all for
spreadsheet.
that.
Yeah.
Me too.
But
So-
to put it in perspective too, this year for basketball in particular, we have 7 teams total, and Rifle has 8, Newcastle has 2.
Right.
And so we have, out of the whole league that we're in for basketball and even for micro soccer, our numbers are continuing to grow. So I don't know if it's deterring people,
Right.
but it would make it a lot easier.
So we should do that. I mean, I can't imagine it's a huge number to be able to offer.
Doesn't that cost get passed down to the registry?
We'd have to.
Well, it's I think what she said, for example, if it's 4.5%, I don't know, if the registration fee is $100, they take $450 of it, essentially, is what it is. So
Yeah,
So they take the percentage off the top from what they collected?
they do.
So I think the 4%, that collection amount, the amount of the time it saves you and makes your job easier is probably money well spent.
Yeah, and I do have another option too that our soccer club just started using that I've dug into, and it's Sports Connect, and I'm on the backside of that one. I haven't been on the backside of Team Sideline, but I can definitely look into and pull numbers and give you guys some options.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean,
that
we're
was gonna
going,
be my question.
we're going
if
through your
there's any
budget,
other
Yes, sir.
so we should
purveyors to.
maybe approve some money in there so you can just get a portal and do online registration for people next year, or as soon as you can implement it and just be done with
Come
it.
up with a ballpark figure, we come up with it, that, use that number as a basis.
Can't be more than
Well, and my
$5,000
thing
for a
is-
year, right?
My thing is
And that
that if
company's
it's
charging you
money that-
4.5%, but they're processing the payment themselves for probably 3.2 and keeping the balance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can't we pay for other things directly online?
I will get you all more answers. I was slightly unprepared for that. I will definitely pull more numbers and get more answers because that's something
I agree,
we've
though,
discussed.
the time savings and the likely increase in people signing up more than offsets the cost.
Oh, yeah, and then if you're adding, additional programs like coach, pitch, baseball, or whatever, and then if we're ever able to get like adult softball after we kind of skin out the field, I mean, yeah, we're going that way, so let's just make it
Pickleball.
easy.
And that gives you an opportunity to get more proficient in the platform and not having to manage each individual group and sport. Makes it
Yes.
scalable.
And do you raise the cost of the
Yes.
sport by the 5% to cover the
Yeah, I mean, really, you're talking a dollar to
couple bucks
$3,
per
yeah.
registration?
So, yeah,
Instead
anyway,
of
we
30
think you
bucks, it's
should
$35 for
I
your
will
kid
look
do that, yeah.
Yes.
I think what I would suggest we do is we come up with that number, whatever it is, add it to the budget, bring it, report it what it is to you on December 12th. And if you approve of it, you pass the budget. If you'd rather not spend that money, we'll strip it back out.
All right.
No, I
Sounds
like
like a
that.
plan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
and youth sports is not something the town makes money on. It's a service we offer the town, so is that little bit more worth it to still give that service to the citizens?
I think so.
I think it is, so.
Is there a fund that we could pull some money from to offset those transactional costs? Going back to your point, Mr. Mayor, it's the service and these people the residents are already putting in.
And it comes out of the general fund anyway, so. I mean,
Yeah, and then I suppose, right, we just leave it up to, probably Nicole or Jeff, I don't know who actually sets the rate for what these programs cost. But I mean, I'm sure they would just factor in the cost of that and then decide if they change it by a couple bucks or just leave it, maybe to Mayor Eichel's point, that it's just maybe the cost of doing business and getting the
And
convenience of
people
people.
are more
so-
likely to spend it if it's easier to sign up, if it's easier to see the schedule of events, et cetera,
Yeah,
et
yeah.
cetera. There's a value proposition that's an easy sell.
Yes.
Cool.
And then it frees you up to do other stuff.
It would definitely be a time saver.
I like that a
More
lot.
athletic.
time would be worth it right there, so.
Yep.
I agree.
For sure.
The hours, the man hours versus
That's
the
my thing on it
registration
is
fee is,
the registration fees, that allows her to do other stuff, so it's saving us money.
yeah.
I have a question for you, unrelated to sports. You talked about how everything's stable now and everybody knows what their job is. And I guess one concern I would have as it relates to that are knowledge silos. Like, you know what you know. Who else knows it if you win the lottery?
We are consistently cross-training. And even Lori has been stationed in our office until she moves across the hall, and she's even been cross-training.
So you can take a day off.
So I have been taking days off.
Hallelujah.
And it hasn't fallen apart, so we're on the right track.
Well, back to your point earlier, especially with contract workers, there's a relational knowledge there as well as factual knowledge, right? So they can deal with other people and build that rapport with them just as easily as they have with you.
Yes. Yes.
Perfect.
Yes. And Aaron, our contract inspector, is really great about if I have a specific question, he'll sit down in the office and explain it with Dusty and I both there so that we both better understand what it is that he's trying to accomplish or what it is that he's doing. We're kind of revamping our CO checklist form. Really doesn't need these things because that's outdated. So let's get rid of this. Let's minimalize what we're doing. And it's more of a group discussion than just individual discussions because a lot of decisions that are made and a lot of what we do in community development is as a team. It's a team effort. So it's definitely everybody learning, but there's a lot to learn.
A little different than coming and just do sports, right?
It is, yes.
I have a question. Planner Chain, does he have any normal office hours? Or is he just strictly...
He's available for the most part by phone any day of the week.
Oh, okay.
As far as being in office, he typically comes down for a P&Z meeting, and then sometimes he'll come down every other Tuesday. Tuesdays are his days that he typically is here.
Oh, okay.
But when we need to schedule an in-person meeting or a pre-application meeting, he's more than happy to come down whenever he needs to for those meetings.
Good.
Cool.
All right.
Thanks.
Well, thanks.
Okay, public safety. Chief?
You guys are lucky I don't have much of a voice. As chief of police, my primary responsibility is the public safety of the town of Silt, and secondary, the surrounding areas. My job is to oversee the department, the officers, patrol operations, the back end, which is the records division, evidence that sorry. Right now, my job is to not only oversee the operations of the department, but to handle caseload as it comes. No secret, we are short-staffed, but we do, as a follow-up, we do have two good solid applicants for the assistant chief job. And once we start that process, hopefully we will pick one of them, and then they can help us with filling some of the open vacancies we have. But my job at that time will also be to train them to take over my job, as per our succession plan. And their job will be to find someone to take over their job when I retire. I could ramble on, but right now I don't have much of a voice and it's going quick. Do you have any questions?
How many open vacancies are there?
3.
So we have 4 officers right now?
Right. And right now we're stretched a little thin. We've got one going in for surgery on her ankle tomorrow. And then we've got another one, his wife's getting ready to deliver any day.
So we'll have 2?
So we'll have 3.
Okay.
We've already got a contingency plan to make sure all shifts are covered. The town will not be left unattended. It just takes some extra hours.
Mm-hmm. You don't have to say much. It's the same discussion though every year in our police department. We're always short-staffed. We budget for the right amount of people, or at least the amount of people that we want to have in there. We never have that many. So they're either leaving, they're either getting fired, they're either quitting. You know, we've talked about retention bonuses, we've increased the pay, we've gotten new vehicles. Look, I get it, like,
I say
law
unfortunately,
enforcement's really hard, I get
I say
it.
unfortunately, I think every community
All law
faces the same
enforcement
challenges.
agencies have the same.
I don't know, like,
It's not like we're the only community that has these challenges. It's
Just not there to hire.
I mean, is there anything else we can do? I mean, Jeff, you have a background in law enforcement, and is there anything else we can do, Chief, to help out?
I think it would definitely help if Nicole would open up youth hockey. But
She's gonna run rugby.
that was the other one. The staff you've got now they're young in age and young in experience, but they love working here. And we've had this conversation here not too long ago. A big part of why they like to stay here, the reason they like working for this town, is when they know they've got a board that supports them. That means astronomicals in the overall scheme. Yeah, there's other agencies like Plymouth Springs and Junction, and people giving hiring bonuses and paying great gobs of money, but That's not what they came here for. They came here to be a part of this community. And as long as we still let them be a part of the community and do the social events, even the parts, being part of the school, that's why they came here. We're getting 3 new vehicles. One this year and then 2 next year if we can find them. They're still in back order at the factory.
Okay.
You've approved computers, which is a huge now, I'm going, for lack of better words, a morale boost. That they've got the technology everybody else is using. They like working here. They want to be here.
So that gets them there, that gets them here, but what keeps them here?
Well, I think some of the measures you've taken have kept the ones that we have.
Yeah.
So, I think you just have to keep doing that. You asked me asked us what, Mike and I talk about it. What do we do? What could we do different in our recruiting? Well, the best kind of recruiting is word of mouth.
Yeah.
And if we can, Mike kind of mentioned it a minute ago, if we, in this deputy or assistant chief candidate, if it works out, maybe they're able to pull some folks from their past agencies, or they'll know people. They've been in the business for a while. So I think those are those are things that we kind of hope for.
Well, having a happy staff, having the officers that we have now be happy will definitely help possibly bring new ones in too, because that may, when they talk to their fellow law enforcement officers and they hear they're happy here, it makes it better rather than them complaining about the place.
So I agree with the officers that are here like to be here. The problem is we don't have enough officers that want to be here that like to be here. And I think 100% that's going to take more money. If we have 7 officers budgeted, we never hit 7 officers. I would rather take that 7th officer budget, spread it over 6 officers, boost the pay up, and see if we can get 6 officers to stick around.
It's a great idea.
Okay.
I had an additional thought. What's the average number of hours the officers are working?
It runs feast or famine. Sometimes it's their 10-hour shift. Sometimes it goes to 15 or 16.
But in a week, does it average out to 40, or is it closer to 50?
I'm sorry, what?
In an average week, 40 hours, 50 hours?
Oh, like I said, right now it depends. Last week I went down with COVID. That's the staff I've got. It's like, go home, get away from us. We've got the schedule taken care of. And some of them covered an extra 10-hour shift. Some of them cover an extra 15 hours. So, it just depends what kind of case you catch.
The reason I was asking is we've been doing some surveying of our internal team at my day job, and one of the big things we're getting is work-life balance. That it's not so much the pay, it's the number of hours they're working to get that pay, because, well, of course, most of them are salaried. So their viewpoint is, well, every hour after 40 is free. So you have no bones about going 50, going 60, and I'm just wondering if salary is obviously a key piece, but is there a work-life balance part of that equation as well?
Yes. And we've had that discussion, and I'm going to tell you how that discussion went a couple years ago. It'll be great. And it was with Chief Kite. And we're having this exact discussion, and Chief says, we got it. I got it, no problem. Like, I won't take a day off, or I'll not take that vacation. And we said, you got to take that day off, and you got to take that vacation. Like, you guys can't work yourselves like that. You didn't get an answer to your question, by the way, but I bet it's 50, 60 hours a week that some of these officers are working, maybe even more. And it is, like, that's a high stress.
It's not that much.
Oh, okay. What is it, 50?
This last payroll, I had 1 officer with overtime.
Yeah. So, like, that's a high stress,
So
high anxiety job. Like, you know.
Is there an opportunity to hire one of those additional officer slots if it were time limited to 30 hours or 32 hours? Because right now you're getting 0. Right. If the position's not filled, you're getting 0 officer hours. Is there an opportunity to create, I don't want to call it part-time, make them eligible for benefits, but give them a better work-life balance where maybe someone who's a co-parent or has a spouse or a significant other that has an off schedule, you may find more applicants with a more versatile scheduling.
Right now, our game plan is, in perfect world, is we're hoping that my replacement is going to come in and bring somebody with them. Because I've spoke to both of them, and they've both talked about possibly bringing some folks with them. If that's the case, we get everybody up to full steam. We get up to staff, at which time we will look at doing 12-hour shifts, which will give us additional coverage in the town, which is something boards have always asked for.
Mhm.
And they're spending the time here anyway, so why not make it part of their shift? And when they go home, they go home. They don't have to be worried about being called out.
So three 12s?
Yes, and then one week they'll have 4 12s. It'll be broke up.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
exactly the whole scheduling with that, but Garfield County, Rifle, Newcastle, everybody seems to be switching over to this for one, the coverage, and two, when their folks are off, they're off.
Yeah. What do you think about what Mayor Reichel had mentioned about taking that salary that we would pay that 7th officer and spreading that out among the other 6 positions in terms of a higher salary? How do you think that would work for you?
It doesn't get you to where you want to be in terms of the number of staff, though.
Right, but what we're maybe trying to debate is we've rarely made that
6 is
number, and when
closer
we
to the
do,
final number than 4.
Instead
Well,
of 4.
if we get to 7, we never stay there. Like, we're constantly like something's happening, just like always. So the thought behind that was like, if you take that salary and you spread that out amongst the other 6 positions, that's some more financial incentive to maybe keep those 6 here.
Well, I think we're allocated 8 as of today. 9 on January 1st with this new position.
Yeah.
You can certainly give more pay raises, that's fine, but then do you stop recruiting?
No.
I think.
No, you continue doing all the same things that are already happening. You simply say, instead of getting to 8, or getting to 7, we're going to deal with the realization there's only going to be 6 best case. The money's already budgeted.
Right.
So just take that 7 salary and divide by 6.
I guess we're just
And
trying
then
to.
when we go
I'd
over
rather
budget,
stick
because
with
we
the
hire
7
the 8,
positions
Yeah.
myself.
But they're never
We're gonna burn
filled.
them all
That's the mayor and Mayor Pro Tem's points. We never get
We
to
never
7.
fill it.
Why don't we just admit we're never going to get there?
We barely fill the 5th
Well,
spot, let alone the 6th and
Yeah,
7th.
it just helps out better with hours and vacation and time off and stuff like that.
Yes, Amy?
My suggestion,
I'm just wondering if you take that money that we have in the budget and put it amongst the other officers, and then you get another officer, and that's $75,000 with salary and benefits and retirement, where is that coming from?
Well, I think, I don't know, you can answer, but I think I know where he was going with that, is like, whatever that number was. So I think he came up with 6 just because this form says that we were budgeted for 7, next year, right? So whatever that number is, if we're budgeted for 8, but we don't go for that extra officer, so we don't go over budget. We just have that realization that we have such a hard time
We ensure retention.
hiring and retaining, officers, that we would maybe consider just getting rid of that position and then trying to use that as like extra incentive between the others that are here, I
And
guess.
even use just a salary portion of it.
It was just an idea, I guess, but
That's-
Yeah, even just a portion. It's so hard to hire, the cost of hiring somebody, training somebody, they work for 9 months and then they leave, versus using that money to pay somebody to stay for 5 years, or 6 years, or 8 years, in the end is beneficial to the town.
Well, I think you'll always have some amount of turnover because you'll get the young people who want more excitement or something, and they'll go somewhere just because they have a busier job as opposed to more money.
And right now, I think it's a great idea. I really do. But at this point in time in the game, I'd like to see when they get the assistant hired, if they do bring people with them, and if they do, there's a succession plan for them also. This is all the way from the officer who's got a year on to when they're about 5 or 6. And if in fact we don't fill that position later on in the year, we throw it out there that we just do away with that position and divide up the money and see where we go from there. But I'd really like to have the manpower and see if and when they bring people with them with the assistant job. That's a perfect world. I think it'd be, you'd be full staff, working on the schedule. I think that's a plus for my people. And I would like to try that before we eliminate a position to transfer that money over into salaries.
Well, then we're not down any officers at this moment. I mean, we just have one out for health reasons and another out for a birth of a child. I mean, they're still here.
And we're still paying them, yeah. And by the way, it says 7 officers plus an assistant chief and a chief. So it's
9.
It's 9.
Yeah.
And I seriously, I'm hoping that they do bring some folks with them. Now, and that kind of gives an idea of what kind of leader they are too, that they would leave at their own agencies they've been at for a while to follow this person. And this would be a great asset for the town also.
I agree with that 100%, yeah. I just want to, I don't want to have the same conversation in 2024 with how do we get a staff of officers.
And if we could come up with that, we could tell it to the other agencies and we'd all retire.
Well, no, we'd keep it to ourselves.
Yeah.
and not share our secrets, but.
No, Newcastle's had 2 positions open for approximately a year. Rifles have 3 positions open for approximately the same time. I think even Glenwood, with what they're paying, I think they're still 4 down. And I talked with Fairfield County command staff and such, and they aren't even seeing applications or resumes that are coming in. And we are competitive with just about everybody up here.
Okay. What's in, I don't know, you might not know this, what's enrollment like through CMC's police program? Are those numbers decreasing?
Yes, they are.
Every year? So.
They are rapidly decreasing.
Yeah.
And some of the people going through the academy, you really don't want working for you. And it's been my philosophy and the philosophy with the people that work for the department is we're not going to fill warm bodies. They have to be a fit for the crew back there, and they've got to be a fit for the town. And so far, from what I hear and talking with people, they've done a fantastic job with the town. It's just a matter of giving them a little bit of help. And I'm hoping to see that right on the corner.
Okay.
Okay.
And with, part of We jumped off that little portion there. We also run with CFR for medical and fire calls within the town to assist them in whatever they need. So we, and all the department heads work together. My guys go out, find water leaks when they turn the irrigation on, see a fence or something going up, go and talk to planning and zoning, the front office. We all work together because we are a smaller town and we have to wear different hats.
Is there anything else the department needs as far as evidence storage? Anything?
No, like I said, the vehicles and the computers were the two huge things. The vehicles, we had some on nickel, starting $100 that we're going to be getting rid of. And the computers. I've been real fortunate to find quite a few grants for some higher end equipment where other agencies come and borrow some of our stuff. It's not, I don't know where I was going to go with that thought, but any other questions?
How about uniform stipends and stuff for you guys?
Uniform, we got a grant for this year and next year. We're going to be changing the department uniform into a lighter gray.
Nice.
Kind of a more of a approachable type color, more neutral. It'll still look neat, professional. We just replaced everybody's body armor this year with newer carriers, so we are solid there.
About like boots and stuff, do you get an allowance, a yearly allowance?
They get $100 a year. Most of the guys run the Danner boots, and once a year we take them down and get them resold, which pretty much covers that. Cold weather gear, they're all solid on. The equipment in the cars are all.
Okay.
I got nothing else for that.
I got
No.
nothing else either.
You.
Public Works, water, wastewater, Trey.
He just wants
You have 30 seconds.
$30 million.
All your time. No.
Breeze through it.
Anything that wasn't covered falls under Public Works.
The rest of it. There's the advantage of being.
Slides.
Yeah. If you ask Treasurer Tucker, my department's the one that likes to spend money. Nothing in my department is cheap, unfortunately. I have 7 full-time employees and 1 full-time, part-time employees on the Public Works side. We handle the streets, 17 miles of lane miles of streets is what we have. The parks, 16 parks, 175 acres. The cemetery, my crew can put grave digger on their resume now because we dig the graves. Also, we're the vehicle maintenance motor pool for Public Works, admin, and the water wastewater department. We take care of all the town buildings as well. We also do the irrigation system, which is not listed on here. And that's all on the Public Works side, and duties is assigned by others. If it doesn't fit a category, it usually, hey, can your guys do this? Which most of the time we can. We work with all the other departments, like Nicole, help them to set up for events and things of that nature, or recreation things. Then on the 2 departments kind of merge together because Public Works deals with the distribution system and the collection systems on the water and wastewater side. And then in the water and wastewater, I have those 4 employees over there, and they run and maintain the water plant, the wastewater plant. They do all the meter reads, the meter repairs, hang the door knockers for late notices and stuff, and do all the shut-offs for non-payment and the turn-ons for non-payments. And yeah, pretty much anything else that comes up. And I'll answer any questions if you have any.
No, looks good.
I have a bunch of questions. No, I'm just kidding. I don't have any questions. No, you're good.
Try to answer them.
I know. No, thanks, Trey. I don't.
Besides a water plant and all the vehicles that are coming to you in this budget, is there anything else that you guys are short?
Just unfortunately, vehicles, I know we got 2 coming, but currently we are down to 1 vehicle over at the water wastewater plant that's running at the moment. The other 2 are setting up at Public Works, and we're trying to figure out what's wrong with them. So just, we've got hand-me-down vehicles from the cops and everything else, and all of our vehicles are over 150,000 miles. So just trying to update our fleet is the biggest one.
What kind of vehicles do you need? Like for your department? Like what works? Just a little pickup truck, SUV, a car?
No, for most of them, like a half ton, like an F-150 being a Ford. A Ford F-150 with a utility bed.
Oh, okay,
Single
okay.
cab
Yep.
with a utility bed to haul all the tools and equipment that they need on a daily basis.
That's the water, wastewater side too.
Yeah, they would do well with something like that as well.
Yeah. Do all 4 of them need a vehicle, or?
No, not all
Oh.
4 of them. We only have 3 over there. Well, currently we have 1 that's running, but we only use 3 on the water wastewater side.
Oh, okay.
And actually, if they had, on that side, if they had 1 truck with a utility bed, the other 2 could be like SUVs or like what we have now. They have like the Explorers and the Tahoe.
Uh-huh.
Because a lot of that is like the meter reads, collecting samples, getting samples to the labs, and things like that.
Are they able to come and pluck one of your vehicles to do their tasks if they need, like you have one right now, if they need another one?
Yeah, I was gone last week on vacation, so they used mine. And then today we were up at Public Works, and we had a couple others that kind of are in good shape that we just weren't using, that we're running through real quick to make sure they're good to go, to send one over to them. And then something to think about in the future that might be nice is like like a work shirt or something that identifies them as a town employee. Because basically right now we don't have any of that. You just wear, work clothes to work. But, at some point as the town grows and everything, to actually have like a shirt or something for them to wear to work that says Town of Silt or things of that nature. But
Yeah,
that's
I'd be in
not
favor of
huge
that,
at the
and
moment.
everybody's-
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to having some kind of a uniform shirt just to give
I
us
thought they
some
already
Yeah.
did. I'm
uniformity and
stunned. I
whatnot.
literally thought I saw them wearing one when I toured
No,
the
so
water plant.
Sarah wears snowmask and Carbondale shirts.
Yeah, Victor wears Carbondale sometimes. We do have some old shirts that said staff that we got at one of the first concerts.
Yeah.
There's still a few of them wandering around out there. But they have the Old Town logo on them too.
I think it adds to morale too. If they have,
I think, yeah, for-
T-shirt or sweatshirt or something. Yeah.
And then even
Aren't
like,
they supposed to be wearing their vests that say the Town of Silt on them all the time?
Oh, yeah. We do have the vest, not the,
reflective vests.
Yeah.
yeah. The reflective
Yeah, but
vest when
most-
they're
yeah,
out
most
working.
And
towns
operators
do
don't
a-
need to
a
wear those all the
uniform
time.
Yeah.
Of some sort, pants and shirts and boots.
Well, they get a $150 clothing allowance every year, and most of them use it for boots because that'll get you close to buying a good pair of boots.
Yeah.
What kind of shirt? Like what you're wearing? Or like a t-shirt? Or like a heavy Carhartt long sleeve shirt?
Variations thereof. A lot of the guys are wearing t-shirts. Some of them like the collared shirts like this. Some of them like long sleeves. Some like short sleeve. So we'd have to really look at it. If we bought like a uniform shirt, I think it should be something with a collar.
Yeah, I'd say like a
Instead
polo
of just
shirt,
a
it's either short
t-shirt.
sleeve or long sleeve, they
Yeah.
could have their choice on
Should
that.
probably,
Yeah. Make
if
it
you
look,
did 3 per person, because to rotate them, still wouldn't be much over $500.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know, I mean, you should have at least three, you know,
Yeah, I
one,
would say that, yeah, I'd be all for
three
that.
for summer, or a couple for summer, for winter, whatever, and then clean ones, so.
Even in
But
the
still, I
office,
wouldn't
too.
be more than
Even for you
$500
guys,
bucks.
a nice polo, Silt shirt.
I think we could afford that in the budget.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bring everyone,
Make them all dressed the same.
pick the worst color we can imagine.
That's the one on sale.
There's
right?
one on
Always the one on
Sure.
sale.
One with this one sleeve longer than the other.
Factory seconds.
And safety
Actually, I
vests
think,
indoors.
Indoors.
Trey had these in the budget for maybe it was the 22 budget, and we were getting close to where I wanted to be, and so I cut them out. So you can blame me for that. But I mean, we've talked about it. It'd be be kind of a neat deal for those guys that are out in the field. It would also just be good for them to be identified as town of Silt.
Exactly, yeah.
But there's a legitimacy there for townspeople that are walking down the street and they see someone, they see the official clothing, they feel more comfortable asking a question or having
For
a
sure.
conversation with them.
Jeff, I think that might be a pretty reasonable thing to maybe put back on the budget. And then
That was last year. It's so last year.
I know.
Well, it's something to put in it for this year.
Seems to have quite a bit of support.
I think,
and seems like they would like it. And
Yeah, an option polo or t-shirt, because we have an option up there, polo or t-shirt. And when you're really just getting dirty, just wearing a collared shirt isn't quite feasible, you know, opposed to a t-shirt.
Well, it's one of those deals we can put something in the budget for December 12th and let you know what it is.
Sounds like a plan.
cool.
Looks
That's
good.
And then vehicles, then, you gotta get an idea what you need.
Like, can you get through 2023 with what you have? Or do we need to look at a truck with a box for next year, for this budget?
We have 2 in for 2023.
I know, do we need 3 in?
One for the water wastewater plant.
Oh. I'm never gonna say no to a new
I know,
vehicle
you'll
for my
never.
career.
smart answer, Trey.
But
You know, we can get by with what we have. It just might take a little more maintenance and stuff.
Because we know we're not getting, the police vehicles aren't getting handed down this time,
No.
Yeah.
because they're shot,
Yep.
which is what we've done in the past.
And that doesn't really solve the problem if they're shot.
I know, that's the point.
Yeah,
That's the point.
that
They're
doesn't
just,
solve the
they're
problem.
shot, so.
I mean, I would almost suggest, a truck with a plow on it, then they can plow their own road, and that way, the public works guys don't have to break away from these streets
Well,
to go take care
we
of them.
actually, not that it's a truck, they do have a vehicle out there that they can plow with to some extent.
Uh-huh.
But that's not much to plow.
No, it's not much.
I mean, we
plow.
just-
I was just.
We make the main pass through and then they have an ATV out
Yeah.
there with a plow.
Oh, okay.
And they will
Yeah.
finish up and plow the rest
I
of
was
it.
just thinking along the lines of it would free up some time for your guys to,
Yeah,
To plow,
That's a bigger
to
truck.
plow
though.
200
That's
feet of road.
yeah.
A truck for
Yeah.
Well, I mean, an old plow truck if they're going to get rid of one.
Yeah.
But it's just a thought. Oh, and actually, I did have a question on the. I guess it's more for any of you guys. For the stipend for like the boots or the clothing. How do you guys do that? Do you have to turn in receipts or?
you have to turn in receipts to your department head.
Okay.
And we do have an account with Boot Barn.
Uh-huh.
And if the employees come in and see me, I can sign something and hand it to them. And they can charge it at Boot Barn, and then Boot Barn will send us the bill.
Oh, okay.
Up to $150 plus
Yeah.
there's a little discount there as
Uh-huh.
well.
And it was just a thought because where I work in Glenwood, they just give everybody a check, and it just seems like it's easier on the accounting. And yes, some people don't necessarily spend the entire amount, but it just seemed like from their accounting standpoint, it's just easier to give everybody the same amount. Here's your check for this year, and then you don't have to worry about receipts or anything else. It's just a thought.
Do they withhold on that?
Yes.
They take taxes out?
Yeah, yeah, because our stipend's like $350, and then they take the taxes out, so it's around $300.
Yeah. I've heard
it was
that,
a thought.
other towns that do that. Because you're right, I think from an accounting standpoint and accountability standpoint, it's a lot easier. And then if you've got an employee who's wearing boots that are falling apart, you can talk to them about why didn't you spend your money on a new pair of boots?
It's a good
Yeah.
point there too.
Yeah, but then you can't do anything about it.
Next year.
I mean, so.
So how much is one of those trucks? 45 grand
60.
60.
But you're looking at 50, 60 grand.
Yeah.
for a single cab?
A single cab with a utility bed, you're looking right around 50 to 52.
Okay.
If you can find them, like Chief said.
Yeah, back order.
What about a Dodge?
Well, I'll look at anything.
Oh, okay.
The reason we went with Ford is I reached out to 5 different dealerships and they're the only one that picked up the phone and called me back.
It's crazy, man.
We'll make it work.
Wait, did you tell him to make it work, or did you say we'll make it work?
We'll make it work. And he's one to let us know, I guess.
I think Jerry's
Yeah,
saying
we'll
let's
make
move
it
to the
work.
next spot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, dude. 2 trucks. Okay, what's next?
Well, I have a question.
It's 2 more
I
than
mean, do we have money in the budget to get a picture of our current mayor?
Oh my God, I've been saying that for years,
The mayor
Chris.
doesn't picture them go up till they leave.
Yep. Not until I leave.
When they leave.
Oh, okay.
Sure.
It's a
memorial
Yeah, it's a memorial wall. Yeah.
That's when they retired.
You show me that in writing.
I
where
just
it
know that
says
that's how it
it's
was,
when
because I
he
know that there
leaves.
wasn't one
I
of
think
Rick
his
up
picture
there.
needs to be up
No.
there too.
I know that there wasn't one of Rick up there
Yeah,
until after he was gone.
You don't
Until
need a
after it
picture,
was
he's
over.
right here
Yeah.
until he's gone.
Not for us.
That's
For
fair.
other people.
There you go.
We're only here twice a month.
And
All right,
copies
anyway, I'm
go
on
in.
that train too, so like,
Exactly.
They just passed that ballot measure, so I'll be here for another 18 months.
There we go.
Yeah. So, you got plenty of time to get a picture up there.
There you go.
all right,
Surely
I
Leanne
like
will
that
give us
idea,
one.
Chris.
Yeah.
If you won't get one taken, Leanne will give us one.
Yeah.
She will.
Water, wastewater.
Oh, yeah, water, wastewater, I kind of went over that. We had 4 people. They run the plants, do the meters, read the meters. But in that water, wastewater, it's the distribution system, the bulk water, the collection system, the tanks and all that. And some of that work falls under Public Works. They do most of the distribution and collections work.
Okay, next.
Next. Capital expenditure projects.
So I'm not going to belabor the point here, but a couple things. One, there's the economic development. We've had that line item in the budget for a while. I think this year we have an idea that we're calling Shop Local. Derek's been working with me and Align Multimedia to kind of put something together. We have not had time to present that to you. We plan to have it on tonight's budget, or tonight's meeting, but we just ran out of time. I'm thinking we'll probably bring that on the 12th and have them do about a 10 or 15 minute conversation about it. Derek and I will get together ahead of time to make sure it's what we want to present. But I think that would cover that. I'm going to make this pretty quick. We're still working on computer server replacement program. We're looking at engineering for Grand Avenue, capital replacement, vehicle replacement fund. That's the fund that we put money in for. It's kind of our rainy day fund. We don't dip into it for vehicles until we absolutely need to. I think we've only been doing that for a couple of years, and I think this will bring it up to somewhere around 150,000 in that budget, or in that fund. Town facilities needs assessment. We've talked about the fact that as we grow, as we add these new positions, where do we put them? We've talked about whether or not we need to move the police department over to town center and convert that building to a police department. Well, then what do we do for public space? Do we need to build something to take the place of it, or build a new police? What do we do? So we've talked, what that needs assessment is basically a firm that comes in and does that kind of work, looks at our growth patterns, looks at our anticipated growth, and offers some suggestions on what we could do with the facilities that we have and facilities that we already own. Maybe things that we could do.
So on that point, and I think Trey can chime in here, this building's designed to add a second story too.
This building already has a second story.
I thought it was made for the whole, that little second story to go away, and the entire building was previously designed to have a second story.
No, not that I know of. I don't think it was actually designed to have what they added on.
Shh.
That'd have to go back to the Dave Moore days, but I think I remember that conversation, so.
Yeah, I've never seen a set of plans where it showed a second story on this
Right.
building.
Okay.
And like my office used to be part of the ambulance base.
Phase, yeah.
And when they remodeled that, I think that's when they put what is
that's when
upstairs.
the ambulances put that part on over there.
Yeah, they
Ambulances.
built
We
up.
had the fire department was originally in there. We had, our fire trucks was, and then the ambulance was upstairs. And I think it kind of got put on, if I remember right back in the day, with kind of, whatever, weekend warriors went and did it. If I remember right, we worked on it the week, and we did. We just worked on it the weekends, and that's how it got added on to.
Yeah.
The good old days.
You can't go back on it because 3 years it expired, so.
There you go.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
that stuff's not sliding by anymore.
Okay.
Build a new community center with a splash pad out in front. I just had to say that word, or two
Yeah,
words,
you
splash
did.
pad.
We could
Yeah, I didn't
split
see that in
to
here.
sell us
I
the
know.
land, and we could
Next
put
year.
the community center and the gym together, and then do stuff.
So we have patrol car computers in here, police car replacement, lease purchase for 2 cars, comprehensive plan review and revision next year, and the revenue sharing that will owe the River Valley Metro District next year if they continue to build, make any progress on those apartments. Parks. We've got $20,000 in there for implementation for the Parks Recreation Culture Master Plan. That's if we need to do any additional survey work or any additional planning kind of impacts. The building stuff is the playground equipment replacement at Eagles View for $220,000. That includes fall protection, parks, and then also playground equipment replacement at Community Park for $180,000, and then trails as well. And off to the right, you can see what funds that we plan to take those out of. And continuing with, what's the next slide? Is it streets, I think?
Yeah.
So continued spending on the interchange and pedestrian bridge design and engineering, $270,000. That's already money that's earmarked for those projects and committed. And then the streets overlay project in Terra subdivision. The Eagles Nest Street rebuild at $250,000. Main Street streetscape project at $450,000. That's at 500 block of the south end or south side of Main Street, in front of AG Carpet and Whimsical Wagon. AG Flooring. Then the street sweeper, the capital payments on that, and the work trucks for Public Works. You can see the funds that those are taken out, that those 2 trucks are taken out of. Continuing down the next slide there, we're going to replace some doors and windows and lighting at the shop. Youth sports programming for $26,000. Actually, that's going to go up now because we're gonna put some money in there for sign
Online
up.
registration.
Yeah,
Yes.
registration. Special events, celebration, fireworks. That's $1,000 a minute for those fireworks,
Very nice.
which we had 13 minutes, I'm pretty sure. We got a bonus.
We did get a little bit longer than
Yeah.
what we paid for.
All right, let's jump right into any questions on any of those big picture things that we're spending on next year?
Youth rec, is that enough for all the equipment you're gonna need with doing kinder basketball and coach pitch?
It should be, because we just replaced equipment for several of the existing sports. So we'll have a little bit of leeway to purchase equipment that's needed for the new sports that we're bringing in.
Okay, what about, new screens on the dugouts at the baseball field?
That would be Trey.
Track.
Your parks.
I don't care where it comes from. Those things were trash last time I looked at them.
Yeah, they are trash. Them green, just
Yeah.
the shade screens.
Yeah.
We have $5,000 in the budget for the baseball field, so I don't know. And I know that was just to kind of skin it out, move the sprinklers to make that infield bigger, but
Yeah.
I don't know if a little extra to rescreen that so it does look a little bit nicer.
Them screens aren't that much.
Okay.
So I'll look into that. We can get one like we have on the stage and be able to hang it over the top of them again, like they were.
Okay.
Cool.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay, so general fund summary. There's that estimated beginning fund balance is also it's beginning for '23, but it's our ending for '22, obviously. Revenues 4.1 million, expenditures of 5.2. We're expecting grant revenue of about 500,000 for a hit to the fund balance of a little over $1 million. So our ending fund balance for '23 at 4.2 million. You'll notice we took the 1.3 million out that we talked about doing the curb gutter and sidewalk for the north side of Main between First and Second. So that leaves our fund balance still at a very healthy 80% of our '23 expenditures. Okay, so-
There's room for an emergency work vehicle if needed.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so capital expenditures, projects, and initiatives in 2023 for out of our water and wastewater utility is all there. Water line replacement at 7th Street at $1.5 million. Our debt service for the plant at $252,000. Engineering for Grand Avenue, $100,000. Hydrant and valve replacement, that's an ongoing project. We're trying to do about $30,000 a year on that. How many do we get out of that? Hydrants? Out of that 30,000?
If we're just, well, it depends on the hydrants, but hydrants alone run about $3,000 a piece, $4,000 a piece just for the fire hydrant. And that's not counting the fittings and stuff to get it connected or anything of that nature, or patching back roads and things of that nature if we need to.
So 4 fire hydrants for 30 grand?
Roughly.
Expensive.
They are.
Like I said, nothing in my department's cheap,
No, no.
unfortunately.
Is that one old one by Grand and Kim still there?
Yes, it is. And this engineering for Grand, when we start that project, we're
Oh, okay,
hoping
cool.
to abandon that 4-inch line and get that hydrant out of there. It's still tagged out of service.
So we've got water tank mixers for 30,000, and then 400,000 in there for the Grand Avenue rebuild. Wastewater, that debt service is $252,000. Collection line replacement at 8th and 9th Street for $250,000, and that's in the alleyway between 8th and 9th Street behind the old Tim's Tools building. We should probably start referring to that as the business that's in there now.
And what's that business called, Jeff?
Well, we'll work on that.
La Placita.
Thank you. Yeah, there you go, La Placita. La Placita, yeah. And then the air handling system at the headworks for $200,000. Irrigation pumps and controls at Eagles View Park, and then some turf replacement as well.
So that heat and air handling system at the headworks, that's in the wastewater, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
You don't want to spend 10,000 on something we're about to replace.
200,000 on it.
200,000 something we're about to replace.
It out, and then, yeah.
Yeah.
Our plan is to be able to close the doors there, in there, and not have the odor going into the rest of the building, right, Trey?
Nice.
Or somebody walking out in there with all them gases and falling over.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Good
probably a
call.
good idea.
Probably more, yeah, that might be more important than eating
A
your
little
lunch
bit
in
higher
the
on the
office.
list.
All right, so water, wastewater, we're gonna start the year with 3.3 in the fund balance. We have revenues of 4.4, expenditures of 5.3, hit to the fund balance of about 700,000, ending fund balance 2.6, and we'll end up with about 51% of the 23 expenditures. Okay, quickly through the irrigation program. Obviously, I think we've had some pretty good success that, and we had a little wetter summer last year, so we didn't have the hit on the irrigation system that we had in, for sure the year right before that. So we'll continue our public education and patrols and all of that stuff to continue to have that success. One thing we're introducing next year as part of this budget is that turf replacement program. We've got $10,000 in the budget we're proposing to spend to award homeowners who want to replace their turf with native grasses that will reduce their reliance on the irrigation system at a quarter a foot. We figure we can get to about maybe as many as 12 homes to do that. And hopefully we can use that in tandem with the state program. I've learned recently that it wouldn't be the individual homeowners applying to the state. We would apply to the state, we would get the money, and we would administer that program. So we're moving in that direction, and we'll have some more information on that as it becomes available. The fund summary, well, we have $383,000 in that fund balance. Revenues of $322,000, expenditures of $397,000, almost $398,000. Going into the fund balance by about $76,000 to leave $307,000 in the fund balance at the end of 2023, or about 77% of that expenditure budget. Silt Housing Authority. We've got $30,000 in there. Trey, can you remind me what that's for next year?
Some of the air conditioners
That's what.
need work.
And whatever's left in there, we could maybe use for a grant match if we come across something that might help us to address some of those needs. And then $30,000 for the senior programs, rides and meals, which I know the mayor loves talking about. Sorry, I couldn't resist. Silt Housing Authority summary, we're going to start the year with $204,000 in there. Revenues of 290,000, expenditures of 309. Will be just shy of $20,000 into the fund balance next year, leaving 185 or 60% of the 2023 expenditures. Victim assistance spending in 2023, about $5,000 for victim reimbursement, $10,000 contribution to River Bridge. That leaves us, starts us with $45,000 in the fund balance, revenues of $11,000, expenditures of $15,000, for an ending fund balance of $40,000. One of the things that we will likely do that we've talked about that we haven't pulled the trigger on is an application, but from the police department to that victim assistance fund to see if they would help with computers or probably the computer program makes the most sense since they have a really healthy fund balance there, and don't seem to be spending that in direct victim reimbursements. We'll let you know how that goes. Beautification fund, we're taking quite a bit out of this one between I-70 interchange, Main Street flowers, park signage, community park playground, park shelters, trash cans, and horseshoe pits. And if you look at our fund balance starting at 322, we're drawing down on that fairly significantly this year, down to about 80,000, or 26% of our 2023 expenditures. And then park impact fee spending, community park fall protection, and Eagles View Park playground and fall protection. Again, we kind of stretch these projects over a number of different funds to use all of our resources as effectively as we can. The beginning fund balance in park impact fund is 146,000. Revenues of 66, expenditures of 160. We're going into that fund balance of about 93, leaving 53 or 33% of the 2023 expenditures. Conservation Trust Fund, this is money that we get from the state. Trails paving, 10,000. We're going to put 20,000 into Silt River Preserve, the master plan implementation that is continuing to go forward. Little by little every year. 138,000 in the beginning fund balance for the Conservation Trust Fund. Revenues of 45, we're thinking. Expenditures of 30. Fund balance positive 15,000 will leave 123,000 in there. Am I missing a page? What's the next slide? Shouldn't we have?
Actually, you skipped a few. The Economic Development
Okay,
Fund
gosh.
and the Construction Impact.
Must be getting close to 10 o'clock.
Yep.
So you just kept whirling by, huh, Sheila?
I
She
was
did. She
wondering
went down
where
and
you
then back
went.
up.
You weren't going to call me back, were you? What did we, I thought we talked about
Okay,
park
we finished
impact.
with Park Impact. We missed Construction
Oh,
Impact.
construction impact, there you go. We're going to put some money into parks. We're going to buy a new mower out of that, and we're going to have some money left. It looks like we'll have about $34,000 after we spend 118 out of that fund for 30%. Economic development, I always let Amy talk about this because she likes to talk about economic development revolving fund and the Urban Renewal Authority. Right, Amy?
Sure thing. It's pretty much just a wash. We get a certain amount of money that has increased from the property taxes on the Dollar General store. and that helps pay back the loan that we gave to them for their infrastructure.
And that
So it's
was
an in and
out,
out.
and that was out of our wastewater enterprise fund.
Correct.
So we're gonna get that fully paid back by 2028, and we'll
Yes.
use it on the water plant.
All, 16,000 a year.
That's right. All right, what
It's been
else
real
did
fun.
what else did I miss?
Oh, that was.
That was it.
Okay, good. What questions do you have? What more information does the board need for us to bring you a budget on December 12th that you can pass?
I think we're pretty close, the items that we talked about. I don't know if Mayor Reichel or Trey wants to talk about that other vehicle by chance, or if we're good with where it's at.
Just zoom it up, back up here to see the general fund. But we're looking at that. On the general fund, estimated 2023 fund balance is still 4.2 million. But we do have, I think we're gonna be able to use some of that in some capacity to potentially help with the water plant. We can use it for, I'm sure we can use it for roads, maybe some other stuff there, so that might be able to, maybe that 27 million is only 25 million out of the water plant, and then we get 5 million and 7, and now we're down to 18 million.
18. Well, every little bit helps.
That's optimistic.
So I hate to dip into it too far, but
Yeah.
There's also that area in the fund though where we had for the rainy day fund, he said for vehicles, we're adding 30,000 into, he said that'll bring it to like 200, how much did you say it's gonna bring it to?
150 or something. Should be about.
I believe it's between after this $30,000, I think, Amy, help me out, I think it's between 130 and 150 that would be in there.
So I mean,
Give me a moment, I'm looking.
And I'd
if
prefer
we're able
to,
to find it, we could use that money to get that extra truck, and that gives them an extra vehicle without having to dip into something else right away with not knowing where everything else is at.
see, I think I look at that fund as more as our whatever piece of equipment dies immediately, we have to
You
have a new
replace it.
one.
No, okay, I see what you're saying.
Whereas this truck, it's something we could.
That's unplanned replacement versus
Yeah,
planned replacement. I
planned
see what you're saying.
yeah.
Yep, that makes sense.
Even if we budgeted it, could you, I mean, really, can we get one? Another one, like a third one?
You try hard.
Yeah.
We could.
I'm sure I can track them down.
So you're gonna need one anyways.
I think now's the time.
Yeah, might as well.
Well, I
Before we
think-
have to start paying for the water plant.
I just do. You know?
And what if we? I mean, a new one's 60 grand.
Mm-hmm.
Can we
Roughly,
find something that's 2 years old and put a bet on it and maybe save
maybe.
10 grand? I mean, shop the used car market and see.
I
I
haven't
mean,
really
used car
looked at
prices
you.
right now are
was
stupid
saying-
also. So
Yeah,
Car
Ray has
prices
some
are so
experience
so much,
with
you're
the
almost
used
better
truck
off buying
market.
new
Buying a new
and
one.
having
Yeah.
the warranty and
Yeah.
stuff.
yeah.
Warranty.
Trey has-
I would be okay with putting in the budget to get that third truck for the Public Works wastewater
Yeah.
department.
I as well.
The only thing I would just point out is that this would be a general fund contribution to the wastewater enterprise.
Mhm.
And so we'd have to, if we're gonna plan on making a contribution from general fund for the water plant, you would be subtracting from that.
A vehicle would be
and the vehicle we could use,
Yeah.
we could purchase it for public
For
works.
public
and
works.
have
and not have it be for the water wastewater.
Use it.
Yeah, that would be.
And then they could
interesting.
donate one of the older ones to them, so that way there's not any actual money going to it.
Well,
He's
so
like,
there,
I'll take
what's,
a new one. Give him the
it's
old
getting
one.
late. What's the nuance there, really? It's like if you buy it through the general fund for the Public Works department, and
And wastewater
90% of the
uses it.
time it's over at the wastewater plant. I mean, really, you know.
Well, the two we budgeted now is coming out of water,
Water,
wastewater,
wastewater.
general fund, and irrigation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because they get used for all of it, for the most part.
got it.
It's a good point.
I think that's probably
Well, I mean,
just
really, it's just,
accounting.
if we did that,
Amy?
it does reduce the amount we could dump to that. It doesn't, it's not gonna make a difference, really.
Okay.
I'd be okay with putting a third truck in.
Can you bring us a cost of a truck to the next budget?
I'd like to see a cost.
Just add it
before.
on top.
So we have that. We have some T-shirts. We have an online registration portal. What else? Was that it?
Some screens on the baseball field.
Oh, that's right. Screens on the dugouts. Hey, what's the second baseball field you mentioned in your report? You talking about the one down at Roy Moore?
Yeah,
Oh, you guys you go work on that?
yeah. We maintain that.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I thought we weren't allowed to, or there was some weird
No,
thing. Okay.
we mainly just drag the dirt and keep the weeds off of it.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
don't.
Not much else you can do down
We're just not allowed to, look at the gym.
there. We'll talk about that stupid thing. Okay, no, I don't think there was anything else, right?
Any other department heads that are with us have any other wishful
Speak
items?
now or forever hold your peace.
I think just some items we talked about adding for next time. I think we're looking
Are
good.
you doing the fireworks next year at the Christmas tree lighting again?
Well, that was pretty successful, I'd say.
Yeah.
A lot of great feedback on that for sure.
I think it's a good time to do it. You don't have to worry about the fire danger near as much, and
The only thing I heard was they wish it would have happened on the weekend so they could enjoy it a little bit more.
Someday it would be nice to get another admin car. It doesn't have to be brand new, but something that our employees can use to go to the post office instead of using their own personal cars all the time. Doesn't have to happen next year, but it would be on my wish list someday.
Look what we did.
We could probably find a Ford Escort somewhere, right?
1987.
Yeah.
1987 Ford Escort.
The gremlin.
How about a Maverick? A Gremlin.
Can't we impound something?
We might have something.
We'll send Chief out to look.
Chief will go shopping.
It's cool.
No, I'm kidding, Sheila. Kidding.
Maybe a 64 Chevelle or something.
Now that would be
Yeah, Jerry?
convertible.
Gary?
I will donate that to I'll be right down to give you the title to that, right?
Might have to put studded snows on it.
That was
after
recorded. We heard it.
Yeah. But snow tires don't fit on there, so it's only good for the summer.
Do all our water tanks have roofs over them now? Didn't we used to have a water tank that had open?
Irrigation tanks,
Irrigation
not
tank?
domestic water, but
Okay.
yes.
And they're
All the
all-
irrigation tanks have roofs on them now. We had two that didn't.
One thing that I had mentioned, I think it was last year's budget cycle, I'll just mention it again as a possibility, putting floodlights over the skate park on a timer.
Next year.
There's a lot more traffic there, a lot more kids spending a lot more time there. And if they can stay later, maybe it keeps them from doing something less legal.
Wait, teenagers staying at the skate park later might help with them doing less?
Well, at least they're in one spot.
If it's well lit.
They know
If
where
it's well lit.
they're less likely to be doing as nefarious of things, possibly.
Got you.
I read an article, this town painted a giant eyeball in a area where there's high crime, and the crime rate dropped.
Really?
Yeah. We paint a giant eyeball somewhere over there.
Art in public places.
So,
Yeah.
Floodlights at the skate park would be pretty cool.
Yeah, just throw them on a timer so that they line up at dusk and they shut off at 9 or 10 or something.
You want them shut off at 9 or whatever, so they're not on after
Yeah.
curfew to entice them to stay
Right.
there.
No,
They
yeah.
shouldn't.
And the folks who
So
live
then there's 10
nearby
kids
might
over
be
there at
upset
10,
if
the
they're on
lights
at
go out, and I
midnight.
got a whole bunch of kids over there in the dark.
The security cameras around Stony Ridge need
No, they're
updating?
actually,
Anything?
they're in pretty good shape and they're working well. We've caught a few people.
Okay.
Good.
You need them out at the dog park
I
now.
was just gonna say
Yeah,
that.
the Island Park is where the issues are happening now, but there's no power out there, so
Oh,
What are
that
they
would be
doing
an
out there?
undertaking.
just really quick.
Vandalism, or what are they doing?
Donuts. We're adding some more parking blocks that should
Say more
take some
parking
of it
blocks
away.
would stop that.
Yeah.
We've got to finish that out. We've got the ones to finish it out, so that might reduce some of it, but there's still,
How do we get the scoreboard to work at the baseball field?
I think it does work.
No, Charlie was looking into it.
I thought it was working. Sorry. Did we find the head for it? The control head?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We did find that?
Yeah, the control head it's not functioning. So Charlie thinks that we're gonna need a whole new system on the back side of the scoreboard.
Okay.
Yes.
It'd just be nice if it worked.
It would be
Well,
awesome.
no, it makes
And I-
sense. If you have it, you might as well have it work. I mean,
Yeah.
I think the
Or
thing with
paint
that
a
is
giant
you-
eye on it.
You do a deposit when you give that out to the baseball teams to cover not getting
Yeah,
functional equipment back.
Totally.
yeah,
Okay.
That would be another thing that'd be nice, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it's there, it might as well work.
All right, we have 1 minute.
We got a lot to go over.
One conversation we had just recently with, as part of our conversation with the Comcast franchise agreement, is in order for us to get high definition on our public access channel, we have to have so many hours of programming, unique programming every day. And Michael has been involved in these conversations, and Mike Sawyer as well, about the possibility of putting, maybe using CDOT's, plugging into CDOT's system and you know, showing those cameras. But maybe more appropriately for Silt would be to install some kind of close, I don't know if it's closer, not closer, cameras that would show the Silt interchange, so that people in the morning while they're having their coffee, they could look to see, you know, what's going on out there at the interchange this morning. How early do I have to leave to get to work on time? Talked about putting the same camera on the boat, camera like that on the boat ramp to see what kind of, you know, what's the boat ramp traffic look like today? What's parking look like today? Give people some idea what they're getting themselves into, you know, as they head to those recreation. We talked about the eagle cam, you know, eagle nest cam, putting cameras on the eagle's nest so that we could show those live and in color when the nests are active. There's probably a whole bunch of other things. Maybe we put the skate park on there. So.
Whoa, look at those kids.
Hey, it's 10,
You
it's
may
10
want that to
o'clock.
be closer.
Do you know where your
Yeah,
children
parents
are?
love that, yeah.
Kind of thing. So, you know, we've been talking about trying to figure that out. We haven't put any costs together with that at all, but those might be, you know, ways to, you know, market the town a little bit and assist citizens all at the same time.
Looks good. We'll wrap it up next.
Wrap it up. Next on the agenda.
Next on the agenda, October 2022 financial report. Treasurer Tucker.
looks good next.
Yeah. Do we have to make a motion to go past 10?
It is after 10.
Yeah.
I will wait.
All right, Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to extend the meeting past 10.
What happens if we don't? We just leave? I second it.
Yeah. Okay, motion by trustee Clausen to extend the meeting past 10, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Nog.
You guys
All
know
those
how
in
to,
favor?
Aye.
All
you
opposed?
guys know how to have fun.
All right,
We got 10 till 5 after.
On the record.
back to you, Amy.
So 83% of the year has elapsed. We are doing quite well with our budgeted revenues. All of our funds are at 83% or higher, except for the irrigation fund. I don't know if we're actually going to meet that budgeted revenue because there's 35,000 in grant funds that we're just not getting. We budgeted that and it's just not going to come in. We are doing well on our budgeted expenses, staying underneath the 85,000 except for the Conservation Trust Fund. And that's just, we're not over budget, we're just at 97% because we've spent all the money up front instead of it being allocated throughout the year. Sales tax, we're at about 107% of where we thought we were going to be. Use tax, we're at 124%, and we are ahead on our trash service fees and pretty even on the water, the wastewater, and the irrigation service fees. And I'll answer any questions you may have.
I have no questions.
Nothing from me.
Yep. Thank you, Treasurer Tucker.
Nothing.
All right. Administrator and staff comments.
I have two quick things I wanted to throw out. The tree lighting was a rousing success last week, as gauged by Facebook comments that I saw. I think in comments, the best one was the woman who came up and said that she felt like she was in a Hallmark movie, which was pretty cool. Yeah, pretty cool. Also, one last thing I wanted to just throw out there. I know we're kind of tired of talking about water, but I think it's important to note that the bill funding, the bipartisan infrastructure law funding that we were talking about earlier, this is the first tranche of a 5-year program. So there will be money out there in the future for the same thing. We just don't know how long our plant's going to last, and that's where the hurry has been. But I did think it was important to make sure that you were aware that this is not do or die on March 3rd of 2023. There will be money also in the future available. So just have that in the back of your mind as we continue these conversations.
All right.
Okay. Any other staff comments? Okay, updates from the board and board comments. Trustee Henry?
Just that the holiday event was great with the fireworks and everything. Great to see a lot of people out there having fun. That's it from me.
Good job on all the hard work. The budget always brings to light what everyone does around here, and you guys do a fantastic job.
Trustee Britton?
If we start getting some snow, something to always think about is shovel it under your grass. Don't shovel it out in the street.
Okay. Trustee Clausen?
I really don't have anything other than, good job, staff, on the budget, and I guess just a thought for next year's tree lighting. I mean, it was really good. I liked it, but is there any way possible to move the fireworks just a little bit closer?
No.
And the only reason I say that is because the Hotel Colorado, it's a 130-year-old building, and they launched them from the roof of the building.
Right.
So that's the only reason
No.
I say that.
We met them out there at fire. There's no way. We're lucky we got that spot.
Yeah. No, I was just saying.
We wouldn't have had anything.
You know, if they can launch them off a 130-year-old building.
Well, and I did talk to Orrin about that, the fire marshal about that, and, the fireworks that we use, there's no way. There are other kinds of fireworks that we could use, and they wouldn't be nearly as
Well,
spectacular.
there's my answer then.
But we can, this was kind of a half-baked, harebrained idea to do that this year.
I'm not saying redo it. I'm just saying.
No, I know, but this way we'll get a little more time to think about it and prepare, and we can talk about it.
Yeah.
You bet. But we did shoot them from what would make a great baseball field. I went out there and I said, this is where we need to
It
have
is.
a
It's all
baseball
ready to go. All you gotta do is put
Yeah,
some
that's
things
right.
on there.
Yeah.
It's nice and square, leveled off.
Unfortunately, I don't think it's for sale.
You can see them from everywhere, though.
Everything's for sale.
Yeah, I think they turned out
Yeah, I watched them right
way
from,
better than I
at
thought.
company. We watched them from our living room up there, and they
Did you?
It even rattled the windows at the very end. I have a comment for Mike. I have some people that want me to thank the police department. A couple of people that try and cross to go to the post office, they're glad to see some activity with the police department slowing traffic down there. It's, they wanted to thank Mike and see a lot more activity, and it is. It's, I know you could sit there and write 60-mile-an-hour tickets all day long. They don't even, but they do want to thank Mike and that they have seen that it has helped a little bit. Lasts for a few days and back they are, but I know the roundabout just about every day gets a sign taken down out there at the end. I don't know how you can hit that. I mean, you got to be going 60 to not make that roundabout.
Right.
That's it.
Okay. I have no comment.
I have nothing either. Next item on the
Make a
agenda.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by trustee Seaver to adjourn the meeting, seconded by trustee Brittenall. All those in favor?
Hey.
All right.
That one got seconded a lot faster.